because we've got them right here. Flip City Magazine. Remember Mad Magazine? Then it went woke? Well, don't worry. Flip City has no chance of going woke. That's right. 4 times a year, you'll get an actual printed magazine full of jokes, stories, comics, and more, all about today's pop culture, entertainment, and woke politics. Flip City takes terrible entertainment trends we love to hate with hilarious parodies of Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things, The Walking Dead, Star Trek, Hunters, and more. Trust me when I say there is nothing else like Flip City on the market. So subscribe today. It will be delivered in print, or you can even get it digitally if you're one of those wacky Zoomers. Either way, follow our link and sign up today, and if you put in midnight, you get an extra 10% off. Check out Flip City Magazine today.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another week of Midnight's Edge in the morning. We're going to get right down to business here. I am joined by Cultured Casino. How's it going, my friend?
It's great. Thank you for having me. I am excited, and I'm very excited to have Paula with us today.
Yeah.
So nice to be here.
Indeed. Welcome to the show, Paula. And, of course, we also have, from Film Threat, Mr. Chris Gore.
Hey.
You're not looking very well, Chris. I can tell from your
it was the weekend before Halloween. I was indisposed.
Yeah, well, we love having you on the days.
Did you pre-eat any of the candy before giving it out to the children tomorrow?
Not yet. Still got to go get some candy. So
I see.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a nicely dense packed show for you today. We have a tribute to a friend of everyone watching in the TV in the 90s who's no longer with us. Freddie is tearing up the box office. Then we'll get into the proper talking points of today, namely South Park and Kathleen Kennedy's reign of terror, although some would say that there were some stings in there for the likes of us as well. We have a slight update in Peltz taking on Disney, and then we'll see what else we have time for. So that's plenty topics to cover over the course of today. Also on that note, we have a couple of member chats and super chats. Hillis Mallory has been a member for 30 months, saying, "Is Kathy gonna leave Lucasfilm or Lucasfilm?" She is eventually, but this actually is going to make it more difficult, because now if she leaves now, it's going to look like she leaves because of this, and they can't have that. Thundercock wonders for 14 South African runs. Is woke dead? Did South Park kill it? It's not going to go away that easily, but we will discuss that in due time. And also on that note, Hyper Guyver says for $5, "Guys, I found a way to make Midnight's Edge in the morning better. Put a chick in it and make her gay." So yeah, we did. I mean, just look there. We have.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
you can't get more chicky than me.
How progressive are we? I mean, there's
Absolutely.
a Dave on screen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Indeed. So yeah, we did make it better. And then we have a wonderful crowd joining us already here. We have War Monkey is here. D. Bud Martin is here, and he has wise words for everyone, saying, "People smash the like button and share out the stream." Indeed. We have Jay Flack is here, Mighty Healthy is here, Skibo is here, who's been looking forward to the Peltz news. Yeah, this is not shaping up to be Disney's week or weekend or what have you. But before we get into any of that, there are some news tearing up north in Canada. So let's begin with that. with one Buffy Sainte-Marie. I know that both Paula and Paul came in all fire and brimstone.
Absolutely.
So,
well,
who
Buffy
is
Sainte-Marie.
Buffy Sainte-Marie, and what's going on in Canada?
So up here in Canada and in quite a few parts in the United States, especially amongst First Nations peoples, Buffy Sainte-Marie has been an icon for 60 some odd years. She kind of came out in the 60s during the heyday of peace, love, and drugs, and became a very strong voice for Indigenous peoples across North America, has a bunch of hit songs. She co-wrote the theme to a Academy Award winning song. I can't remember what it was that she got an Academy Award for co-writing a song. And I've actually performed with her. Very, very nice person. But it turns out through investigative journalism and that she's turned out to be a pretendian, and she claimed to be a Cree Nation in Canada out west, but it turns out she's from Minneapolis, an Italian family. and she, and one of the things they talked about, pretendians can't find their documentation. And the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Castration, that did this documentary, just sort of sauntered down to Minneapolis, asked the person, who is in charge of records in that town, and they went, here it is. I was like, there was absolutely nothing that was required. There was no special digging or super, applying for, secret documents and waiting 8 years for the redacted documents to appear. No, they just went into the records person, and she went through the file cards and went, yep, here she is. So apparently she could never find her birth certificate because she didn't try. And so this is actually shocking news up here in Canada, because Buffy Sainte-Marie was a big deal, like a very, very big deal. And yeah, again, the main thing is, who do you hurt? How many awards did she win? How many genuine Indigenous people came in second in music awards and other awards, literary awards, and got beat out by Buffy Sainte-Marie because of her notoriety? So, yeah, this is going to reverberate for a while. Curiously enough, because we have a lot of lefties up here in Canada, the Champagne left, primarily populated by white spritzer drinking women, are completely with Buffy, whereas I would say most of the Indigenous people, my wife is one, are going, yeah, thank you, Buffy, but goodbye. We really don't need you. And the other thing that people don't know about this is that this entire investigation was started by 3 Indigenous women who have, over the years, uncovered a lot of pretendians in Canada, in the academia, in government, all over the place. So it wasn't the Fifth Estate, the CBC, which everyone is like really mad at. The Champagne left are mad at the CBC. Oh, leave Buffy alone. And I don't know, a lie is a lie. And you gotta, truth has to win out in all circumstances, or you start living a lie. But this was started by 3 First Nations women, so not the CBC. Anyway, fascinating story. It's going to be a big deal in Canada for the next little while. And if you want to ask me questions in the comments, please feel free to do it. So that's it. That's the end of News from Canada.
All right, thanks for that update. Yeah, that sounds a lot like Elizabeth Warren, if you ask me. So it would appear that you have your own Elizabeth Warren, only in entertainment. And we are also joined by Tom. Greetings, Tom. Good morning.
Yes, that's what they tell me.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, it's not such a good day for everyone. We lost someone in the last few days here, namely Matthew Perry, who died at a relatively young age of 54.
In a jacuzzi.
Well, no one told him life was going to be this way. Come on, that was gold.
Too soon.
boo. Boo.
Too soon. But
He would
Yeah.
have liked it.
He probably caught something in the fountain.
No, what
Maybe.
it sounds like is he suffered a cardiac arrest and then was
He
unable
has not been
get himself out.
He's not been a stable human being from the time that he was even in Friends. So, I mean, we all mourn his death.
Yes.
And he does have a Canadian connection. He grew up in Canada and went to school with our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and even beat him up in school.
That's
Not
the
enough.
word.
But clearly not beat him up enough.
Exactly. Not enough. So, I mean, we should all be angry at him for not doing a better job while he was at it.
That's right.
What's funny is, wasn't he the one of the friends after the show started winding down that got a movie career and then it just kind of went nowhere? Because he did the one with wasn't it Selma Hayek? Fools Rush In, and then he did the whole 9 yards and a few other ones, and then that was it. Because otherwise, none of the rest of the cast besides the girls did anything. Sorry.
He couldn't kickstart anything, actually. He got a lot of offers. He did The Odd Couple. He did maybe minimum three television shows with people were backing him quite hard. There was the one where he was a sports writer and an alcoholic, and he was in a group session. I saw them all. They were all terrible. They just didn't work.
I thought he was great in Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
I didn't like it at all.
Surely. He also did one where he was in a counseling group called Go On.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw them all. And The Odd Couple, they were just, you know what? They were just off. And I mean, if I looked at them again, I could probably do a bit more analysis. I shouldn't be so dismissive and say it was awful. No, I think they were just, the first one was the Sorkin show, right? And
that was huge. Yeah, Aaron did a great. I think Aaron did a great job on the writing on that one, and had the opportunity to get more episodes, I think it would have caught on. The problem is Sorkin has a habit of spreading himself a little thin, and I think he was a little thin at the time when he was doing Studio 60.
Yeah. Being a sketch person, I was missing that sensibility of it. That's my DNA.
I think some of that show was they put too much weight on Amanda Peet.
Yeah,
and they didn't necessarily have all the people in there that were like legitimate comedians. Aside from, I think it was D.L. Hewley. They really didn't have a solid cast there. The only person that came out of that to do anything amazing afterwards was the kid that was on Big Bang. Simon, I always forget his last name, but
listen, I wasn't a big fan of 30 Rock. I didn't find it funny. I don't find Tina Fey's shows, any of them, funny. I'm in the minority, but I can say that because I'm a member of her gang now.
Yeah, Studio 60 wasn't exactly set up as a comedy. It was set up as more of a drama. It was kind of it was the West Wing in Hollywood. That's what it was. It was West Wing Hollywood masquerading as Saturday Night Live.
But the problem is that if you're got a show that provides a duality like the talk show with God damn it, the behind the scenes talk show, very funny, scathing parody of talk shows featuring the stand-up. Damn it. Someone help me out there. Anyways, that was funny because it was funny on both sides. It's very hard to do a show about comedy and then not have the comedy funny. It's like then suddenly you're doing two shows. You're doing behind the scenes and you're doing in front of the scene. Gary Shandling. The Gary Shandling show is what I was thinking. That was successful because it was funny on both sides. Anyway, we don't have to belabor that.
Indeed. But yes, it's too bad, and they will be missed. But we lost a lot of people this last week, which is kind of crazy. Richard Roundtree, I think, started the week off. Then we lost Bull of Night Court with Richard Mall.
Yes.
And then there was another one too this weekend. Help me out here, Culture. I swear.
Wait, Richard Mall.
Richard
And-
Mole was doing cartoon voices.
and Shaft. We watched Roundtree.
Yeah, I got that one already. I swear there's another one I'm missing here.
Well, then I'm missing it too. My brain's
That's
out.
my fault. Then maybe I'm just having a moment, a
Yeah,
senior moment.
I am having a senior moment too. Then we share the same brain.
Yeah, that happens. All right. Well, let's get into the business today.
For next up is the weekend box office and Freddy's, which has been tearing it up because evidently, despite the creator behind it having the wrong political opinions, that movie did quite well. While Culture looks up the weekend box office. Mr. Gore, what did you think about the movie?
I really enjoyed Five Nights at Freddy's. To be clear, never played the game. I've seen footage from the game, but was not a fan. I do like horror films quite a bit. So I went in completely blind. I thought, oh, well, another movie with animatronic killer cute things. Because we've seen Willy's Wonderland. We've seen the Banana Splits movie, which was sort of another take on that. So this is to me the original that came up with this concept. And I thought it was very good. It exceeded my expectations. I'm surprised that it was PG-13. I thought there were a couple shots I thought, well, that's pretty R-rated, but they let it slide. One sort of horrific graphic thing that happens in shadow, I thought was very cleverly done. No, it exceeded my expectations because it was more than about the surface level killer animatronic, cute things from a Chuck E. Cheese knockoff. There was the story of the lead character, Mike, and him having all of this pain related to his brother who was abducted. And I that really got me. He has this recurring nightmare where he kind of sees the situation happen and he's trying to glean clues from his dreams. And he's got this sister that he's the caretaker of, and they're both damaged, mainly related to this incident. And I thought it was very well done. The screening I went to, which was strange, it was like Taylor Swift, but for 15-year-olds who are into Five Nights at Freddy's. It was packed. The screening was packed. There were a couple of YouTubers that have cameos that got screams and applause when they appeared on screen. I didn't know who they are. The cameos didn't ruin the movie. They were fine. Actually, those YouTube actors were actually fun. So they didn't derail the film. It was brief and I didn't know it, but that's cool. But what I was surprising was seeing all these kids taking photos of themselves like it was this big deal to go out to see this film. And I think the even more encouraging and interesting thing is it opens same day on Peacock. So this excuse that, well, the 45-day window is killing us. If people want to see something and it's an event movie, they'll go to the theater and pay to see it. And this, for that audience, is an event film. What's going to be weird is to see where the Marvel's box office lands. And if it's less than this, because this is it's 78 million. I mean, they usually adjust the figure, but I've seen as high as 80 million. So it's in that range, over 75 for sure. But that's
basically once they clear their costs for advertising, they're in the clear though, because they pre-sold this movie.
Yeah. So it was made for 25 million. So that's crazy. That is crazy. Doing crazy business. I think it'll do even better business on Halloween because a lot of movie theaters are doing specials like half off.
Yeah, I see this as part of the 5. They're doing 5 movies together at Marcus Theaters, and this is one of the 5. And I think AMC is doing something similar.
Or they're doing
you get 5 movies for $25 on Halloween.
Yeah, something like that. Like they're doing these deals. I think it's great. I think it's. I applaud the success of this film. It was better than it had any right to be. It had sort of shades of Black Phone, which Black Phone, it was just announced they're doing a sequel to Black Phone. I don't see how you do it, but I follow Robert Cargill, who's one of the co-writers of the movie, on social media. He just announced it on his Twitter. Is like, we're doing this part 2 of Black Phone, which I think is great. So these are smart horror films, and So look, Five Nights at Freddy is made for a specific audience. What's also concerning, another angle worthy of discussion, is this is a good, at the very least, a good horror film, if not a very good horror film, targeted towards a specific audience that probably grew up watching Goosebumps, right? These are horror tales for children. And
Well,
this is a really good one. So the Rotten Tomatoes score is the difference between the audience score is 90%. The last I saw, the critic score was 25%. How do you get that? And the only thing I can think is the guy who created Five Nights at Freddy, this is a couple years ago, it came out that he donated money to Trump and other Republicans. And so he's been.
Yeah. So what?
That's what I say. So
well,
what?
I want to go back to two things that you brought up because I think are very poignant, Chris. First of all,
let me finish though. So like, this is disgusting. I'm disgusted by this, that critics are so biased that they can't be trusted because they're bringing their personal political beliefs and opinions into this and saying, and the movie is not political in any way whatsoever. There's not one political message in the film. Zero, doesn't exist, not there, can't find it. It's not political in any stretch of the word. So the fact that then these critics are downgrading the movie because of an American expressing, their freedom of speech, which is to support political candidates they believe in, that's disgusting. And all of the critics that gave it negative scores for that reason, I mean, look, I can even look at a movie that, like, I'll look at it, it's like, oh, this isn't for me, but I get why people like it, which is probably what you could do with this movie. It's like, not for me, but I understand why kids like this film. It's the sort of memories of, look, I took my kids to Chuck E. Cheese. All I remember is it smelled like dirty socks, like, and feet. And they had really bad pizza that was like cardboard, but the pitchers of beer were cheap, which was a godsend to parents like myself who were there with the screaming kids. In any case, so I think this is like this. The film exceeded my expectations. This disparity in the Rotten Tomatoes score is, I feel like critics should be called out. Why are you taking this? I always look at a movie as a movie. I'll even look at movies from people that I've grown to not like. Like there's a really good comedy that came out in the last year or so called I Love My Dad. Patton Oswalt is in the movie. I've come to really not like Patton Oswalt based on how he acts on social media. The movie's great. The movie's great.
Okay.
It's one of the best comedies I've seen in a long time. And so I separate the movie I really loved. Patton Oswalt, his social media presence, the way he kind of goes after people is kind of loathsome to me. But I judge that movie based on the movie, right? Even a film like Dumb Money.
You're a bigger man than me.
Yeah. Even a film like Dumb Money that Seth Rogen plays a part. He actually plays an asshole in the movie. He's one of the, antagonists. I look at that and I'm like, I really enjoy this film. I don't like Seth Rogen as a person, the way he's conducted himself and the things he says, but I separate it. But apparently that's not something that modern critics are capable of. They're not capable of separating and just looking at the work as a whole, because a lot of other people worked on, Dumb Money, right? Or a lot of other people worked on I Love My Dad, right? There's lots of people that put their work into it. And I feel like the movie shouldn't be punished necessarily because of, political opinions of a piece of talent or someone attached to the film. So that's all I have to say about that. And I'm interested to hear what you guys.
Well, okay. So like, not to get too far away from where you were before, the first point you brought up that I thought was very poignant is this was made for this specific audience, right? That's the thing. Instead of trying to make Star Wars or something else from the past fit into this modern, world where kids are not interested in it, they finally made something that kids are interested in, right? That's why the kids are going out there. They're taking selfies. They're actually going to the theater, even if they may have Peacock already. That's why they're doing it. The other side of it is not a lot of people have Peacock anyway, so they don't even know what's on there. But the other thing is, I don't think it has so much to do with it being a horror movie, Chris, which, you're right on all those points, because normally that's the case. I think it has more to do with the video game. The fact that this is the same crowd that's into like, you know, they're like my kid basically back in the day. They were into all that same stuff. You know, you made a Fortnite movie, I bet you the same thing would happen right now. That's my point, is I think it has more to do with that's what these kids are into. And instead of Hollywood trying to conform something to them, they actually made something they want to see. It's not made for us. You're right. Like, there's no reason for me to go see Friday Night at Freddy's. There's no reason for you to go see it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You know, like the thing that the parents are going to notice when they get into it is, oh, the Jim Henson Company did the effects. Like, that's probably the only thing that's going to stick out to them. And the kids are just going to be like, whatever, I don't care. It's Five Nights at Freddy's. I love this game. And it's critic proof. That's the other thing too.
Yeah,
right. So like,
proof. Yeah.
And if anything, I think it's
also
refreshing to see the critics hate it and the kids love it, because that means things are back to normal.
I guess, but like, I don't see, just as someone objectively who, look, I enjoy the genre of horror. I tend to like psychological horror. What I liked about this film is it went deeper layers. It's not about the gore solely. It's you know, about this sense of loss that Mike has all this regret over losing a younger brother, and it's a recurring dream that haunts him, and his just obsession with trying to solve that and fix that. It's very well done.
You just mentioned
the other thing that was very good was the tone. It's not whimsical or what, it takes itself very seriously. The movie takes everything, all the events happening, even as ridiculous as they are, it takes them very seriously. It respects the lore, it respects the fans, and look how well it did, unlike other films that seem to just have almost disdain for fans, which is, I don't know why that's not in a handbook now, like, okay, don't ever have disdain for fans. Like, it's everything. I couldn't believe how many groups of kids I saw just taking photos of themselves in front of, like, there was this big at the AMC Burbank 16, they had this, it was a huge, I mean, it was huge, like, wrap around a wall of all the characters from Five Nights at Freddy's, and everyone was taking photos of it. It was an event. It was fun to see in that kind of atmosphere. People are enthusiastic, but I genuinely enjoyed the film, not being a fan. I am not a fan. And I hope that I'm sure they've greenlit part 2 immediately. I mean, there weren't exactly many loose ends to tie up for a sequel, but there's certainly more you could do.
But there's already a bunch of game sequels, so they have plenty to work with.
Yeah. They've got plenty. But, you know, people were even, I saw some other chatter on YouTube where people are saying this might be in the top tier of best video game movies ever made, right there with like Super Mario, among others, where it respected the source material and whatnot, and respected the fans. So good stuff.
See, and that's where I think it's a bigger deal, Chris. And again, like, I totally agree with you on all the horror stuff, but I think the appeal for kids has more to do with the video game aspect. And I mean, we've talked about this before, where this may be the year for video game movies, and this just adds more fuel to that fire.
It didn't help Gran Turismo.
Right, for sure. Yeah, which was also a good film.
Yes, I enjoyed it a lot.
See, and that's the thing. I think that was misadvertised from the start, because you have a movie that was really a biopic, and they were trying to at first sell it as a video game movie, and it was confusing to the public.
Well, Blackberry was badly marketed also.
Well, and the thing is now that they have it on video on demand, guess what Gran Turismo is called? Gran Turismo: A True Story. Like, they changed the title because usually it's the other way around. They take stuff off the title, but no, this is good for them. Good for Universal. They needed it after the money they dumped on Exorcist. So hopefully this will help make up some of that costs.
Right.
And also, as you alluded to earlier, Chris, because as we can see here on screen, it opened to 78 million domestically and 50 million internationally.
Wow.
For 130 worldwide.
Yeah.
Thanks for funding that, Culture. I mean, those are impressive numbers.
And
Culture,
I have never heard of this property. I know nothing about it.
It's brand new. It's in the past 5 years.
No, but I didn't even hear about the game, and I'm a gamer. And I know this is the first time I've heard of it, this show. And
wow. Well, Yeah, this has been around for even longer than I think Andre realizes. I love these games, but I kind of liked the jump scare aspect of these games. I like the fact that, as Tom said, that there are multiple sequels that they can pull from. There's a lot of stories in here. There's a potential for them to exploit marketing. They can exploit this as theme park attractions or a standalone theme park restaurant at Universals around the globe. There's a lot here for them to get into. And again, this particular thing, as Tom said earlier, is the kind of thing that is a big win for something like Peacock. Yes, they paid whatever it was to make this film profitable before it even made it to theaters, but once it got to theaters, every single dollar here, as Tom has said before, is gravy. So this they're
once
split.
They get past advertising.
Yeah, their split of this, 130 million. If it's half, yeah, that's pretty good. I'll take $65 million after the production has been paid for. On top of that, why not? And everything here has got the guy that created this property, leaning into doing more and more of these. He released a meme game right prior to this film coming out based on the property to actually help promote it. So he knew his audience. Blumhouse obviously knows this audience, and now Universal's figuring this audience out. And I think they'll remember how to go about making good things and marketing good things and not spending a ton of money on them. And I think that's what's kind of inspirational about this. But I'd been looking forward to this for a while, since I'd heard it was actually a project, and to actually see it come to fruition after a little bit of production hell, from what I'm to understand. I'm glad it's here, and I'm glad that this set itself up for maybe 3 to 4 more sequels. So.
Yeah, I think they're in pretty good spot here. I know we don't have Chris for too much longer here.
All right.
Let me double check and make sure we didn't have any super chats before we get into our next topic, because I would love to hear his thoughts on the whole South Park business, because I don't think we got to talk to you about that yet, Chris. Did you get a chance to see South Park last week?
Yes, I did.
And your thoughts, sir?
I enjoyed the episode. There were some things that kind of I thought it copped out on a couple of things, and then it sort of the last minute kind of wanted to have it both ways. We're going to criticize Kathleen Kennedy and Disney, but we're also going to criticize the people who milk talking constantly about Disney and Kathleen Kennedy.
Can I just stop you for 1 second there?
Everyone can just look in the mirror right now on that. I think that we can take it, whatever.
Yeah, we can absolutely take it. I have no problem with it at all. And here's like the thing. This was a 40-minute episode?
Yes.
And those 40 minutes, and of those 40 minutes of runtime, 20 were invested in slagging Disney and Kathleen Kennedy. The point was even made. She couldn't handle the negative feedback, the well-deserved negative feedback, and she couldn't handle it. And so she decided, this was her decision, that she was going to solve all of the world's social problems and all of the ills of society using Disney's movies. This is exactly what we've been saying all along. And then, of course, in the series, she used a Panderverse stone to basically break the universe. But it didn't absolve her of anything. She had still been a complete and total activist at Disney's shareholder expense, tanking Disney stock, everything. She wasn't absolved of anything. And then later on, when they talked to, maybe it's not so great to complain about the woke. I think that was lip service, something they had to do. Paramount only last week hired a new DEI chief at the company. And you see how half-hearted it was? It was 1 minute. That was like, the people throwing hate at her and everything. 1 minute of that. And was it Kyle that had the speech about how I learned something today? No. It was Cartman, the most unlikable character, the one who's supposed to be the most unlikable. And the two of them, the two villains, they come together. Yeah, I see that there's obviously shade thrown our way too, but I don't think that shade is anywhere as much as some make it out to be. I just want to throw that in there.
Not just that, you have Kyle and Stan in that scene in PC Principal's office, it's them who are pointing out how stupid this whole thing is. And I'm not so sure that we're done with this yet, because I keep hearing that this is going to be a two-parter. And the thing that stuck out to me the second time I watched it, I also noticed it the first time, but it really stuck out to me this time, was the way the end resolves. It feels like there's something left open here. Like, I think Kathleen Kennedy lied to Cartman. Like, I think because she goes, I seen the other me, which that's the other thing people haven't been talking about. The version of her that's in the alternate Panderverse is Cartman, right? So she is such into that she has become a Cartman in that universe. I don't think they ever fought. See, she says we fought, but it got through and I got stuck here or whatever. Like, I don't believe that. I think the two Kathleen Kennedys work together. And this is all a big
Kennedy,
setup.
if anything, was the more virtuous Kennedy.
That's what I mean.
More determined, yeah.
So I think there's more to this yet we haven't seen. I think Cartman's white flag for now is just set up for a backstabbing.
Yeah. And this light against the likes of us, it was there, but it was so mild. It was so tame. It was so forced compared to everything else. I just feel that had to be said, because there are so many that tries to make it like, oh, but they said this but that doesn't matter. That's not in the trailers. You really have to watch the entire episode to even get that out of it. No, this is a stringent critique of Disney, of Kathleen Kennedy, of Bob Iger, and their entire ideology, with mandatory lip service against the other side. That's all I see there.
Well, because if you look at it, underneath it all, because they keep blaming the fact that they use the Panderstone and they're pandering. That's why the movies suck. Remember, that's the conclusion everybody came to at the end. Even Randy, when he was talking to Bob Iger and all those guys, when they're not even paying attention to the fact that it was more or less lazy. Kathy did admit they were being lazy, but they completely skirted over that. So I think there's more to this, because that's why they got to that point in the first place, right? Was they were being lazy. Because the movie, and she even says they were trying to do it on their own and they couldn't get it to work right. So she started using the Panderstone, and then it got unstable or whatever. That
definitely didn't work. But anyway, that was just, I just felt that's really important since you brought that up. Point. That's a counterpoint that must never be forgotten. So with that story,
so I disagree almost completely.
Well, we'll get into your.
Well, you would with your hair.
Yeah, of course you.
I'm on Kathleen's side.
Of course you are.
Yeah, well, as any good they them should be.
I've been seeing all her little minions out, and that's the thing that leads to the whole Gina Carano business, I think, which Andre is trying to get to here.
We will get into that eventually. But,
sorry.
But first, Chris, I want to hear your thoughts on this, and then Chato's counterpoints. Then we go from there.
Wait, what's the exact question?
Well, the question right now, I know that I interrupted your flow of thought.
The question is, are you wearing a butt plug right now? That's the question.
That would be very woke of you.
There you go, done.
But no, the question right now, before I let you continue your thoughts on the episode as whole, since we had like this little sidetrack. Now that you heard my counterpoint, what do you think of the message as a whole of the episode, and who is the one really being put on blast here?
I think ultimately they're trying to be entertaining at South Park. They're just trying to rip people and have fun with it. But it's pretty biting. The whole Panderstone business, the idea of race and gender swapping all the South Park characters, and then saying, do you have a problem with that? And the show also takes shots at people who critique it, but it's the kind of things we already hear. So I didn't think it was all that shocking. I think a lot of people built up that this episode was going to do more than it actually did. But, look, I was entertained. It's what South Park is going to South Park, and did a very good job. And so there you are. But the criticisms that are in it about, make it a chick and make her gay, it's not wrong. Like that isn't wrong at all, so I don't know.
And my God.
So
sorry, that was a complete accident.
All right, but
my cat is like walking all over my shit here.
I kind of maybe expected them to go a little further because they have gone further. When you look at like Indiana Jones, I think the thing that really got them pissed off was Indiana Jones. You could tell.
Well, and they've already done episodes
they
on
brought it
Star
up.
Wars and all that other
That's
stuff,
what
and
I
they
mean.
bitched about Marvel already. Yeah.
They've bitched about those things. I thought that they might be more specific. They weren't, but they kept bringing up, at least in dialogue, Indiana Jones. So there you are.
No.
Ultimately, this episode of South Park is not for us. It actually isn't for us. It's
I
actually for
don't
the
know.
industry. This is putting the industry on blast.
The part about like they're definitely trying to go after us a little bit too. I
Oh,
agree
no,
with
no,
you
that
there,
I
Fred.
don't mind. That's fine.
And I'm fine
I
with
mean,
that.
Yeah,
But
that's
you're right
fine.
about them naming Kathleen Kennedy. I think it's beyond the industry. I think it's the general audience is finally knowing who she is. I think that was the bigger deal. And I mean, that'll lead, of course, to the Gina Carano tweets. But like, see, that's the thing is I had a friend who has never even heard of, like, he was asking me who the fuck Kathleen Kennedy was.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think that this because Matt and Trey are known to take shots at the industry. I mean, famously, when they were nominated for an Oscar, they showed up wearing dresses that were worn by other nominees from the previous year as a way to mock
High on
the Oscar.
LSD, no less.
They exactly. They make fun of the industry. They don't care. They don't give a fuck. Like, look at Team America is biting, making fun of the Film Actors Guild and directly making fun of people like Matt Damon and Alec Baldwin. I mean, it's brilliant. And so what I'm saying is this episode of the show wasn't really necessarily for us. It was a little middle finger to the industry is what it was more than anything.
Yeah.
So
Hold it right there, Mr. Chato. Do you think that this was directed at the industry, or was it as directed to the likes of us? I know that you didn't necessarily agree with my take there.
So, first of all, parody doesn't work unless the audience knows who are being parodied. Team America worked because we all knew the assholes on the screen. So that's what was funny about that. So the normies out there and Paramount, this was a Paramount show, right?
Yes.
This is a broad consumer episode. It's while it could be backhandedly to the industry, the entertainment industry, it's still a broad market broadcaster. And two of the big names in this show were Kathleen Kennedy and Bob Iger, two people that normies out there have no idea who they are, really. I mean, and even if they had heard of them, they don't know what their personalities are enough to be able to make fun of them, like a Susan Sarandon and people like that, who we all know what her politics are. So I called it a bit inside baseball. That's a choice. I don't really care. But before I get into my disagreement with you, is what I'm interested now is, as pallid as this was, in my estimation, like really soft compared to especially the commentary that we're used to listening to here,
right.
in the YouTube verse. One, I felt like the show was 2 years too late. Number two, I'm actually interested in how soft the egos are in Hollywood and what kind of reaction they're getting from, if anyone out in Hollywood is able to plumb the depths of these individuals with these large egos, whether they have found that this, like I said, this palette episode is actually a gigantic, horrible, destructive force in Hollywood. Just because they name names and got a little bit, cheeky with stuff because of the egos. I would be interested in knowing what kind of effect this show is having on Hollywood. But I mean, anybody with any kind of knowledge of the situation would have come up with a whole bunch of caveats. Number one, the Pander Stone was a dodge. We had that first, we have the first a gender and race swapping gag. Okay, fine. They've been gender and race swapped. I comment on that in my video. I actually thought that the women in the were swapped were actually quite hot. So I think that's a loss for any kind of parody, because they should have been stern, unhappy women, because that's
And
what they
dressed
seem
like
to
Rose
be.
Tico. I agree with that.
That's
yeah.
right. So they missed that. The other thing too is they kept saying the Panderstone was about, we've been pandering the same movies over and over again, and it worked at the beginning, and now that it stopped. That is not the problem. It has never been the problem. And the pandering is not to the general public, which is what they pretended was the key. The pandering is to a very small group of ideologues who aren't going to the movies and aren't paying their bills. And that's the problem with that Disney is having financially. They didn't talk about that at all. That's the pandering issue. And the other part that I objected to was they made it sound like Kathleen Kennedy was had something to do with all of Disney, when all she had to do was with Lucasfilm. And there was this notion where she was successful at the beginning, and then because of Cartman, she overused the Panderstone and then ruined things later. No, she ruined things from the fucking beginning.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
And
Well, and
this is
Matt and Trey have already said that, and that's where I'm thinking there's more to this.
That's
Sorry,
fine,
go
and I
ahead.
haven't seen that, but that should have been in there. I would have loved to have seen Iger and his staff walking.
That's
through
where Member
Galaxy
Berries
Edge.
came from. Do you guys remember Member Berries?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
Anyway,
remember. That was that.
Sure, and I mentioned in my video, I haven't seen a South Park in years, so please correct me in the comments whether this has already been covered at all. But there was no indictment on Disney corporate and their decisions, and the board of directors that are the staff that Iger had shouldn't have been a bunch of well-meaning, seemingly straight people. It should have been the worst of the woke. It should have been purple hair, metal in their face, trans everybody, female, male, whatever. It should have been just a giant zoo of people. That would have been funnier. And those people could have been the aliens, as they alluded to at the end of the show, that were created by the Panderstone. So as far as the writer is concerned, I think they missed just a ton of great opportunities to have fun with it. So there you go. That's my short thought.
Oh yeah. For everything that they got right, there's plenty things that we could have added to it.
Yes.
But overall, I think that we should be happy with this, because
it was a fun episode. There had
very powerful message. And I'm curious, Mr. Gore, have you heard anything from your sources in Hollywood? Have you heard any reactions to the episodes? How people in Disney, people close to Marvel, have you heard anyone say anything about it? I have, but I'm curious to hear what you have.
I haven't heard anything.
No plate throwing at Spagos?
No, nothing. Zero.
I'm sure Andre, I've heard similar things probably.
Yeah. Tom, what have you heard?
Shit has hit the fan. Kathy's pissed.
Okay.
Oh, you've heard she's actually pissed?
She sent out the minions. Oh yeah, and I noticed because I've been getting hit with them all week.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I heard that too. That this has been a very, very bad weekend for Frank Marshall, because Kathleen Kennedy apparently is someone, rumor alleged, but apparently then she is someone that likes to lash out at whoever is close to her. And in her personal life, that is Frank Marshall. So he has not been having a good weekend, as he's had to take the brunt of her rages, of which there has been much, apparently. Much crying, much wailing, much anger, much feeling sorry for oneself, because this is basically apparently what she's terrified of, this is her legacy down the drain. This is all the glorious thing that she wanted to be celebrated for, what she wanted to be remembered for. All of it kind of like ruined in this one episode. And she knows what kind of cultural impact South Park has, how South Park previously has decimated Scientology. Like Scientology, you can that South Park episode, that's a before and after in the history of Scientology. And same thing with like Meghan and Harry, the South Park episode that really did a number on their already waning popularity. And so yeah, everyone that's Team Kathy in Disney right now, they've been activated, they are on the hunt, but they're on the losing side. And there's been fits in her camp, but also in Disney at large, is what I have heard, because this basically just goes, what they're worried about, it's also all their shareholders. They see this. They've heard Bob Iger go and talk about, we can't stop changing the world. And here they explicitly say, you tried changing the world, and all you got were these collapsing stock prices for it.
Well, I'll go one further, because we were talking to Drunk 3PO last night on Culture Casino's late night show. And he dropped a few nuggets about things that he knows from Gina's perspective. And that's the thing here that I think sticks out the most to me, is until recently, you know, we had heard lots of horror stories about Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah.
I wasn't always sure about them. I didn't think she was a very vindictive person. I didn't really even think she was going out of her way to try to make things difficult for the creators. I didn't really believe all that. I was joking a lot of times with the whole firing business and some of that stuff. But we had heard lots of horror stories about her. And then Gina Carano drops this tweet the other day and basically confirms every horror story we've ever fucking heard about Kathleen Kennedy.
And there's one thing that I would like to, I'll read out this tweet for those that are only only listening. Because there's one thing I want to highlight in here particular. Gina Carano, she tweets, and this was something that came right after this. She predicted Kathleen Kennedy's reaction, and this goes with what I have heard about Kathleen Kennedy. I've never put that into any videos, but everything I have heard indicates that she's a nasty, nasty Amber Heard style bedshitter, someone that just hasn't gotten the diagnosis, and who is far more functioning than Amber, but has her exact mental illnesses. So what she writes...
Well, just look how Chris Gore lashes out at people. If you're in the biz, then just look at our own Chris.
Oh my God. Don't even get me started, Paul. I did a video last week, or we were just talking about land acknowledgements.
Oh, yeah.
And how
we
I
have
think
those.
how I think they're, one, ridiculous, condescending, and just hypocritical, but they're doing land acknowledgements on videos. And I'm like, that's where it's like, okay, you've gone a bridge too far for me. You know, I kind of just roll my eyes when I see this happen in person. Now they're doing land acknowledgements they did it for the student Oscars on the official Oscars channel. And yeah, so I may have ruffled some feathers, because my understanding is this happens all the time in Canada.
Oh yeah.
So my apologies. And then
at
okay. Every school and university, it just hasn't bubbled up mainstream because it's a stupid idea. So,
well, I mean, it's done to try to bring illegitimacy to everything that is institutionalized that made countries, nations great, right? We've had a history in the world that we live in over the last 12,000 years, where one people conquers another and takes control of their land. Right. And whether or not the people there that were conquered or subjugated or not, they're an entirely other discussion. But it doesn't matter. It's a ridiculous mental trick that's being played on people. If you go about acknowledging things, you are fairly simple-minded, because it's been like that throughout history. And if you know anything about Native American history here in the States, they weren't exactly kind to each other, conquered each other all the time, and assumed control of all of their surrounding.
But can we jump back to present times and to this
Yeah,
tweet
sorry
by
about
Gina
that.
Carano, which I was in the process of
Sorry about that,
going
Andre.
through. Carano, she tweeted, "This is the part where KK demands any YouTubers get censored off of YouTube for sharing and laughing at this hilarious episode." We've seen this before. We've seen deboostings of things with her name in it. She'll have YouTube disable the thumbs down option because of the ratio she'll receive. Tom, when did the YouTube dislike function disappear? This was around a certain Kathleen Kennedy video, wasn't it?
Fade in.
Yeah, it was when she had this Oscars thing that began with fade in. Because she read from a teleprompter and they failed to cut away the actual fade in part. She read that, what she said was stupid anyway.
It's terrible.
She was completely ridiculed to high heavens, ratioed to high heavens, and then the downvote button just disappeared after that. Funny how that works. Moving on, then she'll have her publicist ghouls make sure Variety and The Hollywood Reporter run hit pieces about the South Park creators and their families, smearing their names through every useful idiot she has under her thumb who would sell their soul to work for Lucasfilm. Let's hold it right there. I know what this is in reference to. Shortly after Gina Carano was publicly fired, the industry trades, they did a story about the Carano family, implying that they were mobsters in Vegas. That's what this is in reference to. There's no reason that the Hollywood Reporter would run a story on the Carano family unless it was a hit piece targeting Carano by way of her family. I remember this, we covered it at the time. And the conclusion was pretty clear. This is obviously something that is done by Kathleen Kennedy's minions, and here she says it as well. And there's no other reason for an article out of the blue attacking Carano's family from existing. And here she's now saying, yeah, just wait for that to happen to the South Park guys as well. She'll activate her online mob to repeat that the South Park creators are racist, bigot, transphobes. And of course, like, you had an entire mob of like the Star Wars stans suddenly go after Carano when she was fired. Again, they were obviously directed. Moving on, and demand the South Park creators publicly apologize by only using words she approves of. And finally, she'll demand they subject themselves to a re-education course of 45 people in the LGBTQ community Zoom call sit there and listen to how badly got their feelings hurt over a little poop of a South Park episode. And again, this is a reference to her, because this is something that was even reported in the trades, that in order for her to keep her job, she would have to go through what amounts to a struggle session, where she would listen to representatives of the LGBTQ community basically just harass her for hours on end on how horrible she was, till she was in tears and ready to write an apology in the words dictated by Kathleen Kennedy. So all she's saying here, there's coverage for this. This has all been in the trades before, if one cares to look. I mean, I saw like some of Kathleen Kennedy's acolytes who are out there in the trades. They've been saying, oh, she wrote this unhinged tweet and everything. It's not unhinged. Everything here can be documented.
Yep. No, and that's exactly what I'm saying. This not so much confirms, but supports everything that we have heard before in the past about her. And this is stuff Gina talked about in the Daily Wire interview, although she didn't name anybody by name. I mean, we kind of had ideas, but we thought it was just the activists. We didn't realize it went straight down the line to her. But this makes so much sense now. It makes so much sense why everything went the way it did, and it definitely backs up the stuff we were hearing at the time. And there was more to this because she actually put out another tweet, but I didn't know if we wanted to comment on the first part before we get to that.
No, but first I want to bring up a super chat that we just got from our very good friend Mexican Ironman, who also has some connections. So this one is on topic. We have many more super chats. We will get through them all in the end, but this one is so on topic that we'll let this one jump the queue a little bit. Mike says for $20. Thank you, Mike. For your information, one of my longtime friends who works at Disney in Burbank called me over the weekend and told me on Friday staff was saying this episode was an outrage and someone at Paramount should have stopped from airing that episode. So, yeah, and I believe this because this fits completely with what I've been hearing too. There's anger, there's outrage, and the ones who are outraged are the ones who are down with the ideology, because that is what's being attacked here. What they feel is that this is a direct, overt attack on their religion. That's a big issue here. I mean, they could take a joke, barely, if it was directed at themselves, but this is directed at their ideology. And that is what they can't stand, because this exposes them to the world and to the rest of the industry. And what they are so terrified of is that they won't be allowed to use Disney and Disney's money as a means to proselytize their message.
That was one of the messages I had kind of gotten, was that there was a email storm back and forth between a bunch of people at the companies going like, how could you let this happen? Why would you do this to us? This makes the whole industry look bad, that kind of a thing, basically. And this is, of course, Kathy pushing all her minions out there because she is butthurt, as you were saying, Andre. So, Chris, I know you have to leave us here. I want to get your reaction to this before we keep moving along, because there is another portion to this I wish you were able to stick around for, because she goes into it even deeper.
All right,
but yeah,
I'll stick around.
if you can, I'd love to get your reaction to this whole thing.
Okay,
but
so
yeah,
let's hear the rest.
All right, well, Andre, I'm going to bring this up on screen if you want to read it for us.
Go for it, sure. Moving on. And this here then is a response to another
yeah,
tweet,
so for some background,
here.
This is another YouTuber / whatever pundit who's a Star Wars geek, and this is somebody who's even pissed off Drunk 3PO, right? And it takes a lot to piss off that man. And he was talking some mad shit on. So we're not even going to give him the time of day. But basically, this individual decided to go after Gina, as they do. So this was her response to that.
Exactly. And the response to this attack from one of Kennedy's minions was, do you always call a woman crazy just because she has more first-hand experience than you and says something you don't like or understand? Bit misogynistic, don't you think? Curious if your overlords pay you, or do you all just go ahead and shove your hole straight up their ass for free? Or shove your whole head straight up their ass for free? I'm guessing for free. Might want to come out for some fresh air. So yeah, come out of Kathleen Kennedy's ass. Tighten there. For some added context, not just for you, but for the people reading, one of the things your overlords, that would be Team Kathleen Kennedy, asked me to do was unfollow certain accounts because they said a bad thing about Kathleen Kennedy. That was a huge red flag for me. If I were the head of one of the most powerful entertainment companies in the world, I would know that haters come with the territory and that maybe the haters are expressing their thoughts because they actually care. And caring is a good thing, because as long as they care, well, hey, we still have something to work with. Maybe we can win their hearts back eventually, and maybe they do have some good things to add to the conversation, which they do and did. And at the very least, they are still buying the product. Look at Mando Season 1. Boom, the healing had begun. If you are a proper good leader...
that she said that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andre.
Indeed. If you are a proper good leader and learn how to embrace and communicate, not dictate in silence and demand your actors and directors unfollow and shame more than half of your fan base, and the people who have stuck with the franchise for decades. Side note, don't say the Force is female and then allow only men to express their political views online. In fact,
Ooh.
just drop the ridiculous phrase completely.
That was a shot at Pablo.
Yeah. One
Or,
of
I
the
mean,
problems
Pedro, not Pablo. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. One of the problems your overlords are having now is that they've made a lot of people completely stop caring about one of the most beloved franchises in history, all by bullying, pushing aggressive agendas, and trying to silence the people criticizing them. How are they able to tell stories they don't understand when the ones they identify with are the Empire? They're literally trying to squash the little guys, the rebellion. No wonder the storytelling is struggling. They fired and dehumanized people like me who did absolutely nothing wrong, all to virtue signal to people like you, the yes men. But yes men, unfortunately for you and them, do not drive culture. Maybe they were banking on the kids picking up the slack, but one of the best things about this franchise is passing it from one generation to share. The competition is too high to throw out something as valuable as that. Can you scroll down a little bit more up since I can't see any more on the screen here, Tom? Thank you.
I did send it to you in the background too, just in case.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't see because I was busy reading this. Why would one generation pass it on when you've disrespected and thrown them away? Your overlords try to hide behind two opposing fan bases fighting each other instead of taking responsibility. So they encouraged the hate, all while virtue signaling that they were standing up for minorities, but instead using them as a shield and weapon. Funny enough, just how our government works. They think people will forget, and yes, maybe they will, but for this moment, they have heard the people's voice, and it shook them. They're choosing to stick with their weak leadership who couldn't handle YouTubers saying mean things online, when all it would have taken is a true leader to step in, take the reins, take some responsibility, stop discriminating, apologize about the things that have been done wrong, step completely out of politics, be truly inclusive, and they'd be back in business. Until then, they're stuck with you, the yes men, and their plummeting stock.
Boom, boom.
Boom. Yeah, I think that about
There's more, but
there.
yeah, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm right on all fronts, but I'm open-hearted and refuse to discriminate based off of powerful people telling me how to think and act. And if there was something I needed to apologize for, I would have in a heartbeat. But I didn't say or do anything wrong. People come up to me daily to shake my hand and thank me for taking a stand, even people who think differently. One thing is true. Good leadership makes for a better world, leading to healthier and happier people and better opportunity. Look around. We are watching the devastating effects of what bad leadership can do worldwide.
So yeah, that was a megaton bomb of information there. And I'm curious what Chris and the rest of the gang think about this, because to me, this tells me so much about Gina, that basically she sacrificed this all because she was told not to follow certain people. And that's kind of what set her down this path to begin with.
Well,
specifically,
I blame drunk 3PO. I'm sure that's one of the people she shouldn't follow. But yeah, no, that I love that. I love that it's like these, this corporate culture is being exposed. It certainly doesn't lead to creative decisions that are in the interests of the audience. I think Disney might be the worst company. It's the culture. It's the culture at Disney. And Marvel had it good for a bit and then was absorbed into that culture. And you see it, you even see it in the writing when you look at like Loki, which no one is watching. Like, it's the TVA is just working at Disney. You know what I mean? I'm serious. It's just
I like that.
is that's
You're right.
Culture at Disney. It's cover your ass. It's CYA, cover your ass. It's, it's clawing for, in a business environment. It's trying to make yourself useful so you're not eliminated. It's weird. It's freaking Game of Thrones, but with The Office, a mix of The Office, the old NBC comedy
Well,
show.
and she's telling us exactly how thin-skinned Kathy is, even more so than her first tweet. The fact that they were butthurt by YouTubers.
Right. Yeah. Hysterical, right? Yeah.
I'm beside myself with this whole thing because, I mean, Jay gave us a little more insight last night, but like, yeah, that's really kind of what it boils down to is they started telling people who they could and couldn't follow, what they could and couldn't say. And we all know the struggle session part and stuff that was brought up in the earlier post. I mean, this is all a very damning, scathing review of Kathleen Kennedy's leadership here.
Right.
I mean,
I think the big takeaway is that we all know that Hollywood has been dysfunctional like forever, but for whatever reason, it's managed to put magic on the screen, and the audience doesn't know just what went into that and the craziness that went into that. What's happened is, and so as long as you kept making stuff, you could navigate the dysfunction of Hollywood and still have good stuff show up on screen. What's happened is the social justice, diversity, equity, inclusivity movement has now broken that that theory of just make stuff and stuff will stick. Everything is bad. This is what's unique now in Hollywood, is that we can pretty much guarantee 95% of everything that is made under that auspices is going to be bad and not successful. This is what's different. So we've combined diversity, equity, inclusivity, along with the narcissism and incompetence of Hollywood of the past, and created a horrible product, a horrible situation. So I want to go back to the incompetence, drug fused
cocaine and capitalism, baby.
I mentioned that years ago. The cocaine capitalism Hollywood. We need to go back to that level of dysfunctionality to get our good movies back.
No, I've been saying it for years too, my man. That's what I'm saying. We need more cocaine and capitalism and less.
There you go.
Fucking activism. Period.
The activism is killed things.
Yeah, completely. Because I agree. It was sappy as it may sound. I think it was better when the executives and studio heads were more like, okay, I have a very expensive drug and prostitute habit, and I like muscle cars, and I want these big mansions, and I need a steady cash flow of money.
They want to be Tom Cruise.
As long as the audience likes it, will get money.
They want to be Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. It worked for us. It worked for them. It worked for the prostitutes. Worked for the cartels. I mean, this is where you
ask Mikey.
Right? Yeah.
Prostitutes are people too.
That's right. They got to work. They got to eat.
Both male and female. Let me.
I'm sure both were kept plenty.
Hollywood probably employed more male prostitutes than anybody.
Vegas, probably. Well, no, actually, the biggest is New York. This is why the UN will never leave New York, because it needs the economy of all these dictators coming in. And,
this is
availing themselves of local services.
Well, and just on another level, like what Gina's doing here, and I know some people are in the chat are saying, well, she's committing career suicide. She kind of is. This is David taking on Goliath right now.
No, she already had.
She had already, but this is her finally firing back. Like, she was quiet. She was kind of being Walter Mosley there, not naming any names. Just she said her piece in the Daily Wire thing, hasn't said a fucking word since. Has not done an expose, hasn't done any big grand interview, hasn't done a book yet or nothing like that. I'm not saying these things might not happen in the future, but what she has done now, this is David letting Goliath know that I'm coming for your ass.
Yeah.
Right. This is it. This is the salvo.
It's a nicely written piece that most of us online already know.
We do, but this is the thing that's important, Paul, and this is why she said it's because Trey and Matt putting Kathleen Kennedy out there the way they did in that episode put her out in the public eye now.
Yeah.
This is one of the most watched South Park events in years.
And I mean, in reference to my previous question as to just, does anyone know what the reaction of the main players are?
Yes, we've heard.
So the thing is, and I was critical of just how scathing. I mean, I told you how scathing the episode was. It could have been more scathing. But on one hand, you've got a good group of people who now merely being canonized as animated figures could push them over the edge. Like, these are not individuals who can handle much irony. Even
Kathleen Kennedy knows that her animated image will never go away.
There you go.
And we're going to make sure of that.
And
that's the other thing.
That on its own is, I think, is not crushing. I don't think that's the right word, but they're pissed off just because of that tiny thing. Look what the Mormon Church did with again, Trey and Matt's Book of Mormon. The expectation was that they would come down like the Scientologists did. No, they sent their people to watch it on Broadway and enjoy themselves.
Well, that was the other thing too, is that the Mormon episode of South Park is one of the better ones too. And yet, yeah, the Mormons didn't give a shit. They didn't say a fucking thing. They just let it go.
No,
because they have a sense of humor too, basically. Yeah.
Well, they were smart. They got together and they went, we have two choices: either make fools of ourselves or embrace it and have it disappear. I remember I got an absolutely scathing review when I was head of TV comedy, and everyone was like, "Oh, what are you going to do, Paul? What are you going to do?" Well, I had this research that showed, out of the 4 Frantics, that I was actually the least popular actor in my own series. So my response to them was, yes, you're absolutely right about my incompetence. I have survey results that prove what you've written about me is true. And everyone just really enjoyed my response.
Well, at least you have a sense of humor about it. And Thundercock here sends in 14 and asks, how do Disney respond to South Park? Okay, so this is the big question on everybody's mind, because I guarantee you there was some major meetings this morning. Gore and Chris, I want your response first.
Exactly. I know that you have to run, Chris. So before you do, real quick, how do you think Disney's going to respond?
Chicken it, make her gay.
How are they going to respond? I think they're just not going to respond. You know, I mean, they may say something, there may be some statement about South Park, but that just makes them look stupid. I'm sure they've thought about sending some sort of response to South Park and Paramount, but at this point, I mean, it would make them look stupid.
I think the management will have heard from them, but the general public is just going to hear from their flying monkeys.
Right.
I think you're right. Culture.
I think the response is going to be behind the scenes.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's going to be exactly what Gina Carano said. It's going to be hit pieces and stuff like that. Yeah. And you know what I think is going to happen with Gina Carano? Because you said something interesting there. We brought up Scientology a few times. I'm reminded of Leah Remini, who was evicted from the Church of Scientology, where she was declared a suppressive person. So everyone had to turn their back against her and everything like that. They thought they were done with her. But she took some time to regroup, to heal from it. And then she partnered up with Mike Rinder, the former head of OSA, which is the KGB department of Scientology, who had also been evicted. And then she came back, all fire and fury and brimstone. And she has been at war with Scientology ever since. She has, together with Rinder, right now they're doing podcasts and stuff like that, but they did like this series on the A&E network, which I know was massively devastating. So Leah Remini, who Scientology thought was going to be nothing, a fly to swat away, has become one of their biggest headaches. And she signaled that she was going to be that kind of headache back in the day with the social media post, something like this, just indicating that this is on. And I'm curious to see what's going to come next of this.
Well, and Jay said that this is just the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I think that Gina Carano is going to be to Kennedy and Lucasfilm what Leah Remini proved to be for Scientology, and that is a hero for the people, for those who have escaped, and for those that still need rescuing. So go Gina, I'm looking forward to see where this goes. And also, we have 2,300 watching right now. Welcome everyone who are not watching regularly. This is the kind of stuff that we do here. Unfortunately, we are losing Chris Gore for
there
the
goes
day.
1,000 of our
I know, right?
viewers.
Yeah. But Chris, where can people find you?
Film Threat. Watch the Film Threat live cast Wednesday, Hollywood on the Rocks, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern. Hope to chat with you, and we have some very interesting things coming up. A quick bit. I don't know if this is news, but I want to let you know something. So I'm seeing the Hunger Games on Wednesday. The new Hunger Games.
Oh,
It doesn't open until November 17th. I also just got invited to a screening of Wish,
Ah,
the new Disney animated movie.
Right.
I have not, and the Disney animated movie that opens much later. Okay. I have not gotten an invitation to the Marvels yet. Normally, the critic screening for that, I would have at least received the invitation to kind of save the date and then get it in my schedule. It opens in 10 days.
nope.
Are you implying there won't be a critic screening?
No, there won't be.
Well, I don't know. I think I may not be a part of it. This will be the first time that I haven't been invited.
I wonder if there'll even be one, Chris, to be honest with
You
you.
think so?
I don't know. This has happened in the past. That's usually like, okay,
Absolutely, like horror movies.
I was
Yeah.
going to say, usually it's like, okay, embargoes happen. You know that, Chris, just from being in the
Right.
business. That's always a part of the game. Because even when you come on here, certain times you're like, I saw this, but I can't talk about it till this date. And sometimes they'll butt it right up to when the movie comes out. That's usually when they're not so confident, or they want to keep something a secret. But when they don't show it to the critics, that's usually the biggest red flag. And that has happened in the past only a few times, where it's like, okay, if they're not showing it to us, then there's clearly a reason why. And that's
a
generally the
really
case.
big red flag here in terms of embargo is that this is embargoed until the day before the release in the US, which is day of release in some international territories. So basically, there's not a single review coming out until the audience have seen it. There might not be any critic screenings, and if
the critics
are,
haven't been too nice to the last few movies.
They're not going to be until like Wednesday or Thursday.
I mean, I'm being invited to movies that open late in November, and I have the invitation. It's in my calendar. I RSVP. It's confirmed. There's a process, right?
Well, keep us posted, man.
And all I'm saying is we're 10 days out from the movie opening, and there's not even an invitation to a press screening. And to be clear, I don't get invited to those world premiere things, right? Like there's certain
that's different.
people that are invited. I get invited to what they call the general media. And general media is like steerage on the Titanic. Okay. I'm basically below third class. So I do get invited. It's almost like a courtesy because I'm a part of a critics organization, because I have an outlet that's been going for, more years than I care to count. Like, so normally by now we'd received at least the invitation for the date we're going to see it. My thought is they're probably going to screen it on the Wednesday before it opens. So it opens on a Thursday, November 9th. I'll see it on November 8th. So not, like a day early, big deal. But that's my suspicion, is they're kind of scrambling what to do. No one has seen it yet. And I still don't know there's some confusion about the running time too. I know it's the shortest film in the MCU, the shortest movie that they've made. So I'll keep you informed, obviously, as I know something, but as of now, and I'm just like, I'm talking to you guys, and I got invited to Wish. When does Wish open? Like end of November? Like
that's their Thanksgiving or whatever opening, isn't it? Culture.
I got invited to see Wish, and that doesn't even open until the end of November. The timing is way off, which tells me everything's going to be last minute. My feeling is that they're going to show it to us on the Wednesday and tell us don't talk about it until the next day. And I'm fine with honoring embargo agreements. If I agree to see a film in advance, if the embargo says this, fine. That's the price I pay. Is, there's a time, and everyone for the most part follows those. Sometimes embargoes break. Usually embargoes break when a movie is good. Like people can't stop talking about, oh, that was really good. And then they just say, fine, talk about it. But very, very unusual behavior on their behalf. So I'll keep you informed. I'll have seen, the next time we speak, I'll have seen the new Hunger Games with Rachel Ziegler, which is, did you know this even? 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh my God.
Exactly. That's what I said.
By the way, did you know that Mr. H broke down the entire story of the Marvels?
Oh, it's something leaked?
Oh yeah, the whole story.
Yeah, there was a
broke down
leak.
the whole movie beat by beat.
Wow.
Into Comics did a story on it as well. Do you want a spoiler?
Yes,
It
please.
sucks. It sucks
that's not-
really, really bad.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Well, have you guys
want,
seen the new trailer?
Yeah, if you want, I can. If anyone's interested, we can, of course.
Bring up the article. Why are we not?
Sure. Yeah, sure. If you have time, we can read through it.
Well,
while we're grabbing that article, I
Yeah.
want to grab these real quick because I think these are directed towards you, Chris.
Yeah, let's do
Walt
that.
Man
Then we'll break
says,
down
I enjoyed
the
Five Nights at
Marvels.
Freddy's and left it open for a sequel. Most likely the third game setting where they make a horror attraction out of the pizzeria.
Right. I really enjoyed the film, and I was surprised, and we all walked out of it like surprised. Like, first of all, I thought the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's was terrible. I thought it was an awful trailer. It was just kind of cheesy and dumb, and the tone of the movie is very different from the trailer. It's more serious minded, like The Black Phone. And how do I mean by serious minded? There's not whimsical music to fill space because you have nothing to say. So characters sit in a room and the only sound is the room tone. And that is unsettling. It's not some, I see a lot of movies I see a lot of indie movies that they don't know how to use music in a film, and they overuse music where nothing seems serious. You've got a scene where the worst thing, I think it's a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie with John Cena called Freelance. I saw it. It's awful. It's one of the worst, if not the worst movie of the year. But that's a movie that is an example of music used incorrectly, where you've got whimsical music where two people are just in a room talking. You don't need that. And I mean, just tension was used well. Five Nights at Freddy's should get much more credit than it's getting. And I'm not surprised it's 90% audience.
I wasn't even going to go see it, or watch it. I have Peacock. But the more people keep talking about it, I might just check it out just because. And like somebody like you, Chris, saying you liked it, I might.
Yeah, and if you have like kids like around the age that like they're getting, this is like horror that's kind of safe for horror for them to watch, as teenagers.
Right.
My voice cracked. I'm Peter Brady. What am I doing?
Time to change.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I'll be reading down the spoilers for
anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Spoiling the show as usual.
No, but Cryam says, did not expect that Friday Night at Freddy's would be delivered in that Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Tales from the Crypt level, kid safe humor horror. Yes. Expected darker and pleasantly surprised. And it's funny because I was just bringing this up last week that we need more movies in this little area that we used to get back in the 80s and 90s when I was a teenager and such, that we just don't seem to get anymore. So yeah, it's a good one. And let's see here.
I expect that Chris monopolizes this show and I'm on it.
It's okay, but we got super chats for you too, Paul. Tipping Barn says, "Hubba Bubba, who's that babe?"
Hey, how are you?
He is here to be pleasant on the eyes.
I am.
Nikki D also says Chato is looking particularly glamorous today.
Thank you.
Indeed.
And we also talked over culture a couple times too, and I'm sure I want to get his feelings on the whole Gina business. He hasn't got to say one thing about the whole thing. Poor guy. Did he step away now?
There he is.
No, here he is.
He's combing his hair.
So real quick, before we move on to the Marvels, what is your feelings on the Gina situation? Because I did try to get to you twice.
You're muted, or we don't hear you. You're not muted.
My kung fu is better than yours.
I actually stepped out of the way because Chris was having such a great conversation, and I know we had him for a limited time. But I'll just say that The Gina basically did a wonderful job of outlining exactly what happened to her, and was kind of warning Matt and Trey what could happen to them, as has already been, summary here. I think that the fact that she was willing to pull the pin on the grenade again was very impressive, because she will occasionally send something that is bananas. And if you want to hear from a close friend of Gina's, somebody who got a text message warning him that she was about to pull this particular pin in a particular grenade, you can check out the last hour of last night's show, because Jay spilt a bunch.
Clip that out. Actually,
I'm going to. I was actually trying to get that done this morning, but my schedule has overcome me as far as time management goes today. But I will get to it, and there will be clips out there on my channel of what he said specifically addressing this, and what his sense is, or if not actual his paraphrasing of what Gina kind of let him know. So there's more to come. Jay says there's another shoe to drop, so I'm hanging in there, man. That guy
sounded like a few shoes, but yeah,
it'll be incredible. But my thoughts are, Gina's genius and did a great job of pumping the well, or priming the well, I should say. So I can't wait.
Well, check out last night's show, and I'm sure once you get that clip, we'll put that in the description.
Yeah.
And with that, Mr. Gore,
Yes.
are you ready to close your eyes and listen through the beauty that is the Marvels? This is something that was broken down by our good friend Mr. H Reviews. He did a video breaking it down, and from that video, Bounding into Comics wrote this article where they basically quote him. So I will now be reading this article and breaking down the story of the Marvels, and maybe we'll see if we can figure out any reason why you might not have received an invitation to a critic screening. Mr. H Reviews details what happens in the film. The article reads, Dar-Ben is a character that Carol is obsessed with. Carol is obsessed with Dar-Ben. It's made clear Carol doesn't trust Dar-Ben, and it's also made very clear that Carol isn't wrong for mistrusting her, because she is the villain, which we've seen in the trailer. He then reveals Dar-Ben is the leader of the Kree. She's not leader of a side faction or anything like that. In flashbacks, we see Dar-Ben witnessing Carol attacking the Supreme Intelligence. That is Dar-Ben's villain origin story. The Kree refer to Carol as the Annihilator, or something along those lines anyway, and she obviously doesn't like that name. Dar-Ben has one of the bangles that Kamala has, so Kamala has the other. No specific way or explanation as to how Dar-Ben has it. Apparently she's using it, however, to power a weapon, and she needs both bangles eventually. There's a funny line where this villain Dar-Ben demands to know how Kamala got such an ancient and powerful artifact, and Kamala responds, and I quote, "My grandma sent it to me in the mail. It wasn't explained in the rough cut that my source saw." So this is how Mr. H knows. A direct source of his has seen a rough cut of the movie. But almost immediately, Monica, Carol, and Kamala begin switching places every time they use their powers. Apparently, it was just not explained. Monica is working on a space station, Swords the Peak headquarters with Nick Fury. Kamala is at home, and Carol is trying to sneak into a Kree-Skrull peace summit because she doesn't trust Dar-Ben, who is of course the leader of the Kree. Carol starts fighting Kree soldiers and then begins switching with Kamala and Monica, and the Kree soldiers start switching with her. So at one point, Carol is on Peak, Swords headquarters with Fury, while Kamala is at the Peace Summit and Monica is fighting Kree soldiers in the Khan living room, while the Khan family tries to hit them with brooms, fights them, runs around screaming. It's supposedly a very funny sequence. Sounds like crap to Mr. H, but never mind. Anyway, at the end, everyone, Fury included, ends up in the Khan living room because of all of the swapperoos going on. However, Kamala is not there, and the ending of the scene in Miss Marvel is that direct shot from the Marvels. So Carol leaves the house and tries to fly up, but they switch again, and suddenly Kamala is falling out of the sky, and Fury tells Monica she has to fly and save her. Apparently, Brie Larson's Carol can't fly because that's using her powers, but Monica can fly allegedly, even though it's using her powers, who knows, without switching. Again,
I don't
I'm
like this story, Daddy.
quoting-
Can we do another one?
Yeah, I'm quoting exactly Mr.
I
H.
know this is just
His words here. I wouldn't use these words, but again, I'm reading his words. Anyway, so Monica Rambeau resists Fury, telling her to fly up because she doesn't know how to control her flight yet. But Fury yells, and I quote, "Come on, black girl magic." Yeah, that's the line. Black girl magic. People are paid
What?
millions to write this. Monica flies up to save Kamala. However, she loses control on the way down. Everyone is screaming, and at the last second, Monica and Carol switch, and Carol is able to stop before they hit the ground. Fury screams as they're dropping, and at the last second, oh, it's just Carol, supposedly very fun sequence. It sounds like shit, Mr. H opines. Next, he details Carol, Monica, and Kamala go off to investigate Dar-Ben, sticking together because, of course, they can't control the switching. Again, it's not explained except for some allusion to how their powers are all similar or variations of each other. Sounds like a weird cop-out, but never mind. So they discover that Dar-Ben is using a new weapon to create unstable portals that steal the resources, water, air, and the sun of whole planets, and she sends the resources to the destroyed Hala to rebuild it. She so far destroyed one planet at the beginning of the film for its atmosphere, so like Spaceballs done. She destroys the second at the Kree Skrull peace talks, and then she goes after Aladna to steal their water. Enter Princess Carol. This is Princess Brie Larson. Carol has already been to Aladna and doesn't really want to go back because she's the princess married to Prince Jan in an ancient diplomatic mistake. Everyone on Aladna sings as a way of communicating. Brie sings. Apparently, she does actually have a lovely voice, but it's an awful sequence overall. They realize the planet is Dar-Ben's next target and have to go there to help her fight to protect the planet and stop her rampage. The girls bond well in this montage on Carol's ship on the way to Aladna. Monica helps Carol get used to working with Kamala because she needs that apparently. Carol yelled at Kamala in an early sequence because Kamala froze up in a pivotal moment. Monica reminds Carol that Kamala isn't a soldier. Monica and Carol also have conversations about how Carol left and never came back. All three kind of work through their issues. It's later revealed that Carol did indeed come back and visit Mariah more than once. So I guess Monica's a deep shit, Mr. H asserts. And then it jumped around for me. Let's see here. Next, Carol realizes that she's going after every planet that Carol has ever called home in an act of revenge. Earth is the last of the plan. Meanwhile, Fury takes the Khan family up to the space station to keep them protected so he can monitor the situation from there. There's a side plot on the space station with Fury. Some techs find some weird eggs and they're like, oh my god, there's an alien infestation. It's not. It's just a flirkin' kitties, basically. Later, the space station is damaged by Dar-Ben when she attacks Earth in the climax of the film. And there are not enough escape pods to get everyone off the station before it crashes. Again, Spaceballs. So Fury comes up with the idea of feeding everyone on the space station to the Flurkin kitten then putting all the kittens on the escape pods and getting to Earth that way. It's amusing, bizarre, and the whole film has bizarre tonal clash between a standard Marvel movie and something goofier like Guardians. And then Mr. H adds, after telling how much he thought it all sounded like it sucks, Monica and Carol go to Hala, and it's raining for the first time on Hala, and the surviving Cree are celebrating because Dar-Ben brought them atmosphere and water. Carol realizes that the Annihilator is an accurate moniker from their perspective. She destroyed this planet and the survivors are struggling, and she's a great villain in their eyes, and she has a moral reckoning. Stopping Dar-Ben means destroying Hala all over again. Monica gives her little bit of pep talk that basically amounts to, we can't save everyone. We have to let Hala be destroyed again. Carol reaffirms her desire to stop Dar-Ben. In addition to Dar-Ben destroying planets, her creation of portals makes the universe unstable. And here we have the multiverse crap, increasing the likelihood of an incursion, which is another reason they have to stop her. An incursion happens in the climax. Carol fights Dar-Ben, while Monica and Kamala try to fix the incursion. That's basically multiverses collapsing. That's probably what's going to happen in Loki. Monica ends up flying through this tear in the universe and fixes it on the other side, but ends up stuck in that universe. And then Mr. H shared his own assumptions. And then I'm presuming this is how then they're going to tease everyone with the Deadpool 3 cameo at the end in the post-credit scenes, because tears have led to it and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that was maybe not how I would have worded a plot breakdown, but you kind of get the gist of what's going on.
Oh
Mr. Gore, based on
God.
the gist of what I said there, I know that was an information dump, but did that sound like an interesting movie?
No, it sounds awful, because all of the best Marvel movies, how about just the best movies? It's all motivated by character, and none of this seems to be motivated by character. It's this needs to happen in the plot, and this needs to happen in the plot, and this needs to happen in the plot. If you look at films like, the first Iron Man, or the first Captain America, the first Avenger, it's all motivated. Everything that happens is motivated by character. The character has to go through a journey. And this just sounds like stuff happens. And that's not interesting. That's like a video game where you have to get the thing to make the thing to open the door to get the key. Like it sounds really uninteresting. And with that, this is so bad, I'm out of here. So take care.
I don't blame you.
See you next Monday. We'll talk Hunger Games, and what a total piece.
Indeed. Yeah.
A nice exit.
On that note, ActionCom says, "Okay, Chris, can you stay?" Oh, he's gone. Can you stay for a few minutes longer while Andre reads out of a Norwegian telephone book? Don't worry, it's only A through D. Dibs.
No, that probably would have been more interesting
Potentially.
than what I just had to read. Like, I'm sorry that we had to put it through you all, but I basically just had to read the summary of how it was written. And that was Mr. H's words. Everyone go check out Mr. H's reviews for his breakdown, because I'm sure it's going to make more sense when you get it in context from him.
And on that note, Jason Webster says, "I need to see the Marvels like I need bad case of hemorrhoids." Yeah, you don't really want that.
Well, maybe you'll get it, but from watching the movie,
Well,
who knows?
It's always nice to have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. Indeed. And for those wondering, so Uncle Remus wonders, so where is the Beast cameo or any cameo? Well, that may be a post-credit scene, and Mr. H's source would not have seen that because he saw a work cut of the movie. That one would be without any post-credit scene attached, because they get attached in the very last moment.
Can I mention just how far Marvel has fallen? I'm watching what apparently is a new old anime. I never heard of it before, called Pluto. You know, I'm a anime nut. It's a new anime. It's a on Netflix. They're showing it, and the basic premise is very simple. 7 of or the 10s of the globe's greatest, most powerful robots that are super helpful are being killed off one at a time, and a detective is trying to sort out why they're being killed and how, because they're super powerful. So far, I'm partway through, and what they've done is each episode is about the provenance of the robot, the relationship they have with the people around them, and how they're killed at the end. And I can't watch it anymore because I'm falling in love with every single fucking robot, and I know that they're going to be killed at the end, and I don't want them to be killed. Like, I'm emotionally involved with every robot that they're introducing.
Sounds like a personal problem.
Did you watch the Netflix anime that was based on Cyberpunk?
Yes.
That you're describing the issue I had with that film. I was growing to love those characters, and then it's just
and
like,
so when was the last time? My point is, when was the last time that we grew to love the characters that we're watching enough that you're getting emotionally involved, especially with a robot?
The first Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014. So it's been 9 years.
Yep.
Well,
so that's my
I'll
point.
tell you,
that, wow, how is this anime Pluto consuming my emotions, and nothing that Marvel has done since Guardians is doing the same thing. It's just a point I'm making.
I was trying to watch that Pluto show, but I left it because I was disappointed it wasn't about a yellow dog owned by a rat. I was like, this is not what I signed up for.
Sorry.
No, I'm kidding. That sounds interesting, actually. DCB Titan says the Marvels certainly sounds like a dump. Yeah.
But the point is, if they had actually, this goes back to what I said, if from the beginning they conceived it like a Hilary Duff Disney movie,
right?
It could have been a lot of fun. Girl power, like it could have been Spice Girls with power.
Well, they're trying to sell it that way now, but I don't think that's what it is, so they can't.
They're trying to re-edit it to be that way, but I don't think that was their original intention.
No, I don't think so either. Now they're also trying to sell it as some tie into the Avengers. But we have a few other stories, and we have a ton of generous super chats to get to, which we will get to here. We have a guest in the background. Now, normally he's not a guest; he's just a member of the panel. But today he has a very special announcement to make, so we're going to bring him on here. One and only Paulie of Latino Slant. How you doing, sir? Or should I say hola?
He's naked.
Hey, what's happening, everybody?
You're naked.
Are you sure you're coming through the right mic there, buddy? You might want to check your settings.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're definitely coming through the wrong mic.
You're coming through your mustache.
So yeah.
Hi, Paulie.
Check.
Hi, Paulie. Good to see you.
Hello. Is that better?
That or you got it spun around the wrong way. Turn your mic around, maybe. Like towards you the other way. Like just spin it around, physically spin it around.
Well, I'm not close to it. That's
there it is.
There you go. That's better.
Hi, everybody.
Well, I think you have it spun around the wrong way because that light is supposed to be facing you.
Oh,
it's on the front. Yes. There you go.
Can we still do that now?
Yeah, sounds much better.
Can we still do that nowadays?
This is your first day on YouTube. Welcome.
Right. What's happening, everyone?
Hey, Paulie.
How you doing? You come to us today with a very special announcement.
Yeah. I mean, you want to do this now, or you want to continue with stories?
Well, we have another story to cover first.
Let's do it.
Then we can do this.
Well, I know Mikey's going to be joining us for that, but
is Mikey ready to join us?
I don't think so. I texted him a little. Let me double check on that while you guys chit chat.
Because we still have the Nelson Peltz story to cover. And you do not want to miss that. Because that's
he needs at least 5 minutes.
Spicy. Okay,
he should be here any minute though.
Yeah. Okay. Then we'll
just tease it. And we'll come back to it.
In the meantime,
I was going to say,
how about that?
Well, you guys are just going to have to wait on that announcement. Action Com says at least Buffy has a shot at hosting the Academy Awards. I'm sure the Champagne Liberal set still will. I'm sure the Champagne Liberal set will not object.
This is,
much.
I guess, Buffy Sainte-Marie.
If I could read.
Why not? As long
All
as the
right.
Americans don't twig onto the fact that she's a pretendian, she could host the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We had Sasheen Littlefeather's sister. In fact, Culture was our co-host on that live stream.
Yeah.
I could find that link for you guys, but basically, this was last year. Sasheen Littlefeather's sister came on and just, we're Mexican. We're from Oxnard.
Yeah.
And that whole legacy was a fallacy, hence the word pretendian. Yeah. And
boy, was she eloquent too. That interview was fantastic. I mean, she broke it all down, where they came from.
I'll get it.
Yeah, it was incredible. And Paulie was brilliant on that. That was amazing. Yeah.
Pirate Queen says, "Oh, go ahead, Culture. Sorry."
No, it's just if in case you don't know the story, Sasheen Littlefeather was the person that accepted the award for or rejected the award, depending upon your perspective. For one of the greatest.
Brando.
Yeah, for Brando.
But it turns out she was acting too a little bit
for her entire life, or at least
just a little bit.
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah. Well, Pirate Queen, speaking of insane, is going to see Godzilla on Wednesday already. Thought that didn't come out until the 1st of December. Well, where are you at? Pirate
Maybe she is somewhere. There's an advanced screening or something. Cool. Well,
maybe that's awesome.
Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts later.
Yeah. Then we got Chaos Sonic 1 who says, thing is, he only donated to Trump because Trump was because his Democrat candidate dropped out, so Trump was the alternative because he is a father and cared. This is about
this
Friday
would be
Night
the
Freddy's.
creator of Five Nights and Freddy's, who's a known Trump supporter.
And David Morris says, have you seen HBO's Rome? Rome is now banned word in chat.
Really?
What?
Holy crap.
Oh, of course, they don't want anybody talking about the fall of Rome.
No, you don't want to talk about the fall of Rome.
I'm behind. What happened?
But no, like many people in the last few months have been thinking about Rome, or rather the fall of Rome, which in a sense, many think we are living through right now.
Maybe that's why.
The United States instead of Rome. So and of course Rome is the one of the greatest series ever made, with the great Ray Stevenson. May he rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Ray Stevenson. Yes.
Yeah. Grand Admiral Adams sends a member chat in. Thank you for being a member for 10 months. Says Paulie clearly isn't a YouTuber that Mexican Iron Man is. That's correct. And speaking of joining us, the one, the only Mexican Iron Man. How you doing, sir? Good morning.
Not a YouTuber. Not a YouTuber. I will not be. I will not come on a show.
Totally a YouTuber. Do not make me pull out the cards. I got this one. This is enough for now.
What?
Move on.
I deleted that tweet.
I still have it.
It doesn't help if you deleted it. If Tom screen grabbed it before.
Actually, I think 6 managed to get that for me, or maybe that was the one I grabbed. Either way, doesn't matter. It's already preserved.
That's all you're hanging on to for evidence. That's pretty thin.
Oh no. You know I got
it. We have something far more.
We have more important pressing news.
I'm here for something related to a hashtag Dang It Bob.
Exactly. Because Mike, you alerted us to some very interesting news earlier today, which I thought was like, wow, this is this is big news and not so big news at the same time.
Well, we kind of
scale. It's bad for Disney.
Some of us kind of predicted something like this might happen, right? So this is from the Wall Street Journal. Peltz push for Disney board seats boosted by Perlmutter shares.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Mike, please take us through the story. What is the latest on Nelson Peltz bid for board seats? Multiple board seats.
I got up early this morning. It was like around 5:36, and I had a Bloomberg alert because I have it set for all my Disney notifications. And I'm like, what's this? Went back to bed, got back up. Then I had a Wall Street Journal notification go off, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Oh my God. So what we've got here now is, although there's been talk of discussions about Peltz having a proxy war, there wasn't anything so much official where there was an alignment of Perlmutter and Peltz officially. Now, what's happening now is Perlmutter is basically saying, "Hey, Peltz, here you go. Do what you got to do." Now, this is massively huge for two reasons. One is that we know that since earlier this year to now, that Peltz's own holdings are triple what they were when he made his first push for what a proxy fight would be. And number two is that by adding Perlmutter, you not only add the number of his shares in one block, but you're strategically aligning with somebody who arguably is the reason why the financial results for the Marvel Cinematic Universe ever were what they were. Because if left up to the creatives and those that would spend money haphazardly, we would have gotten phase 4 and 5 like back in phase 1 and 2, as this channel, as Andre and Tom have reported on various shows in the morning and on Midnight's Edge After Dark. So this is huge. Additionally, is that someone like Ike Perlmutter has a lot of gravitas. Things are, the armies are aligning. If this were Game of Thrones, two of the castles are pretty much well aligned here, and I find it that as we look we're now 10 days away from the November 8th the November 8th earnings call. Literally 10 days. It'll be on November 8th. We're 10 days away. It'll be a week from Wednesday, and exciting times are afoot. And I think that they better have this better be one hell of an earnings call, because one of the main reasons, if not in my view, the main reason that Peltz pulled back before was for two reasons. One, as Iger said, cost-cutting measures were going to move forward. And number two, that there would be a dividend by year's end. Well, for those who don't know, the Disney fiscal year ended, guess what? September 30th. This is the earnings call on November 8th that is supposed to report on the financial performance of the 12 months ending September 30th. Because right now, October 30th, we're already a month in to the first month of the fiscal year, which runs October 1st. See, the reason that Disney has October 1st to December 31st as their first fiscal year is way back when, going back in Disney's history, is that it was made that way because Christmas time in the parks, they always had a good first year, December, Christmas holiday run, and they wanted the first quarter of the 4 quarters to kick off with a bang. So our fiscal year has ended at Disney. So I, as an investor, am expecting to hear Bob Iger tell me that we're going to declare and pay out a dividend, unless he's going to be a Weasley little scumbag CEO like he typically is. And what he could do is he could declare but not pay a dividend, or he could skate around and dance around the subject completely and then say, "Oh, I meant the calendar year, not the fiscal year," because when he made the promise, he said by year's end. He didn't say fiscal year end, and he didn't say calendar's year end. And he's such a weasel that I know he deliberately didn't specify so that he give himself some wiggle room. Well, wiggle room is now here. We're in the room of the wiggle, and I want to see, I'm tired of the wiggling, and I want to see some dividends.
Yeah, but where's he going to take the money for that from? That's the big question I'm wondering.
Well, there is no money for dividends. I'm just...
Yeah, exactly.
Technically, I already know there's not
I was
really...
gonna say, he didn't like his really small check, evidently, is what I think happened here.
Yeah. Actually, I have another question, Mike, because obviously the interesting thing here is it kind of like confirms what we already know, that Ike and Peltz are on the same team. So Disney better but watch out. But this means that they are even more closely aligned. And we know for a fact that Peltz controls even more shares than was initially let on. Now, if we were to tie this back to the South Park episode, I'm sure many of Disney's investors, both the large institutional ones and certainly the small ones, who may not be too happy with Disney's share price, with the lacking dividend or anything like that, How do you think that they're going to take to this episode? Do you think that this might be something that's going to sour the moods prior to the Disney earnings call? You think that Iger is going to be thinking, oh, people will have forgotten that in a week and a half when it's earning call time? Or is he thinking, shit, this is going to come back to bite us? Because I imagine institutional investors will get their chance to chime in. The regular public won't. But could even the institutional investors have some concerns over what the South Park episodes might mean for Disney as a whole?
Well, I haven't talked about it. You know, our space has been so busy talking about the KK and whether or not it was half making fun of us or not and all that crap. You know, one thing that hasn't been talked about, which I want to bring up on this show, is, or at least I haven't heard it talked about a lot, which is that while it's true that the show could have gone after Iger and Disney more, the fact of the matter is that from a corporate finance and stockholder perspective, he was made to look like a buffoon in several regards, a complete and total buffoon. Number one, there was the part where the Disney stocks dropping, and that's a joke. And it must burn Iger to no end that the highest price this stock ever got was on, guess who? Chapek. Frankly, back, and how do I know? Well, but you know, because I was buying that crap at the 170 to low 180 a share. I got a block of stock in the high 170s to low 180s, and Chapek was the man in town at that point by the time. Anyways, so number one is that's got to burn him, that the stock's down. Number two is it made him look like he didn't know what he was doing. Like the caricature of Bob was that he doesn't know what he's doing. And number third was that is the subservient, fearsome attitude that Iger had towards Kathleen Kennedy. That's got to irk him too. And so, you know, he is not happy. There's no way. I mean, for Bob Iger, who once found, think about this. You're Bob Iger. You have such an ego that you think the only promotion on planet Earth would be to be president of the United States. And you just got made fun of all over the place in middle America, because South Park is a middle America show. I know there's a lot of us that watch it, but it, you know, it's something that, you know, it's like, it's pop culture. It's like, you know, I mean, they go after everybody and everything all the time. And while, yeah, KK may be meant to suffer, I tell you, someone with Iger's ego, he was just made to look like a buffoon in front, in terms of the finance community.
He was indeed, especially, like that share price joke. That's going to sting, and badly. And and what do you think that shareholders will be thinking about it? Could this be something that institutional shareholders will be keeping in the back of their mind? Because this is the CEO of the company being ridiculed at the worldwide stage. How much longer can they keep faith in him? How is this not amazing for Nelson Peltz is what I'm really wondering.
Absolutely. I think this is, because what's happened is there are two things. Whereas back in the olden times, which the olden times you could argue would be 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it would never, ever, ever happen that either KK would get made fun of in a public forum like this, let alone Bob Iger. This is now sending a message that he is now playing defense. It's okay. The emperor has no clothes is what's just happened in the financial community from where I sit. Because when I looked at it, look, by the time I saw the episode, because my buddy who works in Burbank, he called me immediately like, hey, did you see the episode? I was like, first thing Friday morning. I hadn't seen it yet. And so there's heat in Burbank. I don't know what you guys have heard about Lucasfilm versus Burbank or whatever KK is. I don't know. I don't know anyone that works over there, but I do know someone that works in finance and accounting and has been there a long time in Burbank. And that building is not happy. There are some people that are snickering in private, but outwardly everybody's like, oh, this is an outrage. And it's not just because of the KK component, it's because of the entire way that Disney as a company and its CEO was made to look in terms of the buffoonery of how that boardroom operates with its supposed great CEO, Bob Iger, who in the episode is made to look like an idiot and not a great CEO.
Indeed. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. So Peltz must be very, very happy with this episode, but because it's going to make it all the more easy to get more institutional shareholders on his side. Because, as I've said before, just remember the parable of Humpty Dumpty who fell down from a wall. And all the king's doctors and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. Now, this obviously is a parable for someone that was thought invincible. But the moment that veneer, that facade is cracked, there's no putting that genie back in the box again. No one is ever going to look at an individual once thought perfect as perfect again. The moment they have been exposed as something of a fraud, there's no fixing that. And that's what Iger has been. That's what Disney has been. That's what Kathleen Kennedy has been now. So yeah, all of those genies are at the bottom. Gentlemen, anyone else have any thoughts on this? Paulie, our most
I
recent
do,
to join
but
the
Paul
board.
actually has to be leaving us, so
Okay,
I wanted
Paul.
to give
yeah,
Mr. Chato
yeah.
floor real quick, and then we'll get to his couple super chats, and we'll let him get out of here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this gets into some high level business stuff that I will leave to the high level, business folk. It obviously Iger doesn't want to lose control, and these guys don't want to see their share values plummet any further. So you've got a battle going on, right?
Indeed, you do, and it's gonna be proper Game of Thrones here.
Yeah, for every I don't know how much these guys have in Disney stock, but I mean, every single percentage that goes down represents millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of their money. That's that there's an emotional impact there component.
Yeah. And speaking of emotional impact, Parated wonders who's a bigger ham, Shatner or Chato?
Oh,
Well, I would say Shatner. Seriously,
I don't know. You're a ham sandwich with cheese.
I'm hammy, but
do you eat ham?
Shatner is a bigger ham than I am. He can also act. I can't.
This is true.
Okay.
Yeah. And Walwyn Weaver says for $5, hey Chato, just so you know, Pluto is a reimagining of Astro Boy. Thought you might find that interesting.
Yeah, I just found that out last night. And I mean, I loved Astro Boy. It was a wonderful, simple anime. Maybe one of the first. There was the car one. But anyway, yeah, I'm like I said, I'm getting so emotionally involved with every single episode in the robots' lives that are being knocked off. I'm having a hard time watching it. So, yeah, I have heard that Astro Boy is in there, and I think we've been introduced to him, and we'll see. I think I've been introduced to him.
So with that, was there anything else you wanted to say about the Nelson Peltz deal? Mr.
No,
Chato?
to me, this is one of those armchair things where you just sit back and watch it. Disney is such an unbelievable mess and being attacked from every single, every single front, from the creative front, and Gina is in there, and now Trey and Matt, and apparently the episode we saw was only one of several coming up, so maybe they will get a little bit nastier on the way in. So anyways, yeah, it's a fun time, and I'm going to be doing more I'm in a Cars. I got a whole bunch of wigs, so I'm developing a whole bunch of characters to do other stuff with, so I'm very excited. Plus cool. I got a cold, so I gotta go and rest. And
incredible.
Nice for joining us.
Go dye your hair.
Absolutely incredible hair.
Love you, Paul.
Take care, Paul. Mike. And we're limited on time with Mike as well. So check out Call Me Chato, and we're going to get back into this real quick. So Paulie, I should say, we're going to give you real quick to give your thoughts on the Peltz business. Then we'll swing it back around to culture, and Andre and Mike back again to give them.
No, let's hear from Mike. I'm really just here on this topic. I'm just playing catch up, honestly.
So yeah, I got to ask culture then. What's your take on this being a bit more of a financial analyst of sorts?
Well, I actually think that this is going to get worse than it is here. I think this is just another salvo. I think you're going to start seeing some people with money start to line up and kind of declare their side on this proxy battle. That's kind of how these things, if they play out, or when they play out. That's kind of how they come together. You start to gather momentum. You have giant shareholders like these. I mean, think of all Perlmutter's shares. 30 million shares right now. Well, last reported that Peltz had 30 million shares. I wouldn't surprise me if he had more. The price keeps going down. They're still under 80 as far as the last time I checked. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ponied up more, but he's got friends. This is the thing. Okay, not friends. Billionaires don't really have friends. They have acquaintances that also have money. And you don't think Peltz is reaching out to people who he's made rich before? Well, of course he has. I mean, this guy gets backing so that he can take over P&G, so that he can take over all these other corporations, or at least make them do his bidding and or give him board seats. And the problem is that Disney, for whatever reason, Iger did not heed the warning that Peltz gave him, which is, we don't normally want to come in here, but we'll come in here. And so they didn't come in the first time. He's coming in hard, and this story is going to get bigger, and you're going to see names start to show up as people who are like on board with this push to get Peltz and others board seats. Look, the other part of this story, and I'm not sure if you covered this, Mike, is that Ike could be back on the board.
Yes, I didn't cover that. I did not cover that. But if you inside this article, there's a comment that basically it's like he doesn't want to see what he built go to hell. I mean, you put yourself in Nelson Peltz. Before I talked about Iger, now put yourself in Nelson Peltz. He's got Ike Perlmutter officially on the proxy battle. He's got the South Park episode that just came up. We've got a stock price that hasn't gone anywhere. And keep in mind, let's not forget, over the last 4 or 5 months, Bob Iger has been trying to drop announcement after announcement that has had no net impact on the stock price of this company. None. Oh, we're going to do ESPN betting. Flat. Oh, we're going to go spend a bunch of money on parks or on resorts and vacate properties. Flat. Oh, everything, announcement after announcement has come back flat.
Well, I think some of that also speaks to his credibility, which has now been destroyed. Because I'm sorry, in the investor community, Iger has not followed through on a lot of things. Disney is now famous for announcing stuff that they never do, or that they do in such a limited way. And I mean, I'm sorry, for those of you who've been theme park fans for a while, that's not new news. But for people in the financial community, they're just now learning that the company will make announcements that they don't do. And by the way, and the argument can be made, maybe Mikey will make it, that their expenditures, their CapEx on, or what they say their CapEx will be over the next 10 years, the $60 billion on theme parks, that's actually a reduction in spending. That's not an increase. Over 10 years, that's not that much money. It's $6 billion a year. No. And all that money, all that investment's going into the foreign parks and not the cash cow that's in Florida. Dumb.
Meanwhile, they've dropped many tenets of the lawsuit. Meanwhile, Universal has picked up its own special tax district in Florida, which was in and out of the news quickly, but is a majorly important event. Meanwhile, in just 3 to 4 years from now, if not sooner, you're going to have two things that are happening in Florida. One is Universal is going to have a massive expansion of its park offerings. Actually, three things. Number two is that you have actually similar parks that are going to be opening up all around the country, by the way, not just expansion in Orlando. And number three is the railroad is coming into Florida, where you could fly into Miami and in or out of Miami or Orlando, and you'll be able to go straight to Universal on the railway. That's going to be huge. And Disney is not part of that. It's going to change the economic dynamics significantly. Not now, but 3 to 5 years from now.
And if I can just connect on that Universal theme parks, we went to that horror night with Mikey a couple of weeks ago, sold out every night. I mean, and they got all the IPs, right? Evil Dead, The Exorcist. Exorcist line was over 3 hours. I mean, it was bonkers. And Universal's killing it right now.
I mean, I thought going on a Sunday night would be like no one would be there. Holy hell,
Correct.
It was more packed Sunday night than it was during the day.
Correct. Yeah.
They do it and do it right. So if I were
and they do have the Five Freddy, right?
Right. If I were Nelson Peltz, the way I look at what's happening is that he's gearing up, and he's gearing up for this investor call. So we should all be watching the news very closely, starting with that earnings call, and watch what happens the next 2 to 4 weeks. What he should be announcing is that they've come to a deal with Here's what Bob should do. He should be announcing, number one, that the Comcast deal has been negotiated, terms have been determined, valuation is done, and they're moving forward. And here's how we're financing it. Bam, and the financing's ready to go. Number two, we're also declaring and paying out a dividend based upon last year's results. Cost cutting was successful. We're making money. And here's what the dividends that we're going to declare and pay out. That is how that call needs to go. Anything that distracts from that or is not that, well, then if I were Nelson Peltz, I'd be getting ready for a siege, like in Gladiator in the opening scene, like, fireballs are flying, where Nelson Peltz is Rome.
Yeah.
I mean, Andre, do you see it any different for that earnings call?
No, I think that one is going to be very, very interesting. I don't think we're going to learn anything prior to the earnings call, but I think depending on what happens there, it's going to get real and real fast. That's what I'm thinking. I think that Nelson Peltz right now, as we speak, he doesn't have to do the same kind of campaign the last time. I think he's going to go directly to other major shareholders and speak to them and gain their support, so that by the time he officially launches his proxy fight, it's already over. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. And I think that he's just waiting, biding his time, sending out feelers, determining who is ready for his pitch and who still needs a disappointing earnings call before they're ready to commit to him. But I think pretty much everyone who isn't already aligned with BlackRock's and State Street and stuff like that, they're all going to go with Peltz, because why wouldn't they? They are in it to make money. They're not doing that now. And there's absolutely no indication that Bob Iger is capable of turning anything around. Clearly, the entertainment media doesn't think so, not when you have the likes of South Park. So yeah, I look greatly forward to what's going to happen. It's going to be a very interesting Game of Thrones to come, and I do not think that Iger will be sitting on that throne by the end of it. I know that he's supposed to be in the company in some capacity until the year 2031. I'm not sure that's going to happen.
I agree with you. I don't think it's not. I agree with you. I don't think that that's going to last. I think he's going to. I mean, we're in 2000. I don't think there's any way that that's going to happen. I cannot see any way. And just look at him physically, Andre. If you look at any of his interviews, like, he's aged just since he came back dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I've got to run. I'm sorry I can't stay longer. Thanks for having me. And I wish I could say, because I'm seeing in the background here, the next topic is going to feature my least favorite actress right now. You guys going to talk? Are you guys going to talk about Rachel Ziegler a little bit?
We're going to talk about Rachel Ziegler right now. Yeah. So all the 2000 watching, don't go anywhere.
Hell yeah.
I never thought there would come a day, but there would be a Latina that is so awful that I would want to hook up with Brie Larson instead. But that day has come. All right, you guys have fun. I'll see you later. Bye.
Take care, Mikey.
Take care. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, before we get into that, we have a message on this topic. Camelot Killer has been a member for 13 months. Panel: the only way that Iger and board is replaced, all the investors vote them out. Stock falls to $50 a share. BlackRock pulls out, or Florida lawsuit convicts of stock malpractice / fraud. Well, actually, it's quite sufficient that Nelson Peltz is able to get all of the non-BlackRock votes. That would be plenty. He doesn't need any more to get rid of the board. And when he has gotten rid of the board, he can change the CEO the way that he wants. They don't need 100%. They don't even need BlackRock to come on board. They just need everyone else. If they can do that, they're solid, and I think that they can.
And as far as I know, Andre, I believe that Vanguard's actually still the number one institutional here. They took over from BlackRock, like 3-4 months ago?
Well, even easier, because Vanguard are not as heavy on the message as BlackRock.
Yeah, they backed up from it.
Probably BlackRock saw the writing on the wall, and they may have toned down their investment in Disney because of it. And we have many, many more super chats to go through. We will get through them all in the end. But before we do, Tom, we have a recent Rachel Ziegler story, don't we? And while we wait for that, Jason Webster says for $5 from Marvel Films, the non-Marvel starring Brie Larson, unfortunately coming to a cinema near you. Yeah, and it's coming soon.
I stepped away for the money talk. Jeez.
I'm seeing it. Yeah.
I don't understand that stuff.
Yeah, but now that you're back again, let's get into.
Oh Lord, I don't want to talk about Rachel Ziegler.
Yeah, well, others do. The story here is from Variety, and it reads: Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, lands SAG-AFTRA interim agreement. Now, if we only had someone who was like somehow like spousally connected to acting in some form. Paulie, take us through this story. What's going on? What does this mean?
Okay, the SAG-AFTRA interim agreement means that the production, not necessarily the studio that is distributing it, but the production company has agreed to all the terms that SAG-AFTRA has. Even if SAG-AFTRA at the end of the day agrees something different with the studios, at this point, they're saying we will adhere to all to everything that you guys want. We just want to be able to promote our film. And this is not new. The interim agreement is not new. The interim agreement has been there since day one of the strike. And what is new is that week after week, you're seeing bigger names, bigger movies, et cetera, adhere to the interim agreement. About 2 weeks ago, you had the big announcement of the Oscar Isaac, Gerard Butler, Jason Momoa thriller. That met it. I think that's more G-based. Gerard Butler, his production company, he tends to, he's all about, the entertainment. So he tends to, hit his thrillers. He knows his audience. So G-based probably agreed to that. And that's a big one because those are 3 big names. But yeah, that's what this means.
So does this mean that Rachel Ziegler is going to be on the late night talk show circuit and talk about the movie and try to convince more people to go see it and give us all plenty more material to have fun with?
Well, Andre, here, I mean, yes, and for us, it's going to be absolute gold. But I'm wondering. I know. I mean, I listen. Culture threw me off. What I'm wondering is because she was Miss, the picket sign, the picket line. She made those huge statements on the picket line. That is this going to be a snafu for her? To basically, you're crossing the picket line. And you're gonna go promote your film, because even though they agreed, and it's all kosher. Think of all those actors that don't got those sweet deals that this person has. Think of all those actors that have been having to go to the food bank, go to picking up odd jobs, this, here, and that. And I'm speaking from experience as far as friends that are in the business. That they're not stars, but they're SAG, they're union, so they got to toe the line. till they get this deal out. But you have Flushies, you have the president friend with their Flushies, and let's support the Flushie movement and plushies, whatever they're called. The stupid thing that she took to the pinche help me out here.
Her jelly heart. Are you talking about the little white jelly heart thing that she had?
Yeah. Fran Dresser, the president of SAG, brought a white jelly whatever to an actual professional meeting with Iger and all those other babosos, right?
Yeah.
So let me bring it back, right? Ziegler is a very lucky young lady in regards to having been plucked from Spielberg at the age of 16, and she's never known real adversity of a working actor who doesn't know when the next job is, but has to pay their dues. Okay, so what are you going to do, Ziegler? What are you going to do? Are you going to cross this picket line, and are you going to go and wax and wane on Hunger Games at the late night, at the red carpet, in all your splendor and everything from head to toe is gonna be sponsored, promoted, paid for? What are you gonna do? Or are you going to stay with your fellow union actors, right? Who are lucky if they get one line a year, one job a year, maybe a commercial, right? Are you going to say, no, you know what? I'm not going to promote this film. I'm with my brothers and sisters, because hey, that's how it was. That's how it's been. That's how a union works, right? You do not cross that line. And you are so outspoken about this. In fact, you were outspoken about this on Entertainment Tonight, where you're like, and if I'm gonna be in a dress for 18 hours, I expect to get paid for every damn streaming hour. I mean, listen, more power to you, but you're gonna learn a life lesson here, Rachel. Walk the walk, because everything else is mamadas. Bullshit. If you cross this picket line. And that's really it. Those are my feelings, guys. Those are my feelings. This is very personal to me.
Yeah.
Very personal to me, because go ahead.
That's the actor's perspective you just gave. The other side of the equation is this opens her up for additional ridicule and questioning about previous statements that she has made that she hasn't had to address because she's been, prevented from doing so under the strike guidelines. So, Paulie, you have 100% of valid reason to be in fuego, right? Just burning up over this.
And I do want to preface this, guys. Yeah. I don't hate Ziegler. I actually, as far as her talent, not all the stuff. I actually, and I know guys don't agree with me. I don't. That's okay. But this is the difference, guys. This is the real life, right? You're taking a stand. Are you playing? Oh, I'm now going to go on the picket line and play an actor that cares about, my union hours, my fellow union workers. Okay. Because that's not, people are not playing with you don't play with people's lives like that. Their livelihoods like that. Because they're not lucky like you, Rachel, right? The big difference between Jenna Ortega and Rachel Ziegler, there's a world of difference, but the big difference with Jenna was a child actor and was raised up in the business. This person was plucked out of obscurity. She's very lucky. Yeah, she can sing. She's very lucky. No adversity except for the backlash. And then you got to be louder to be at the table. I'm at a table, Rachel. You got a table. You said at the table that no one else was at on Entertainment Tonight. I want to get paid for every damn hour. Well, look it. They got the interim agreement, Andre. She's going to get paid for every damn hour. But what about all those actors that say, but you know what? I'm going to go do the red carpet. You actor schmoes, stay on the picket line. I support you in solidarity.
That's very solidaric of her.
Yeah, she's playing Norma Ray.
And again, Paulie, I mean, I'm with you. That's the acting side of the equation. That's the SAG after a member side of the equation. But from the other side of it, she's now opened up. It's safe for her to stick with her actor brethren. Paulie, I'm with you. But this is going to turn ugly because, you know, I'm in the commentary space. I'm going to be commenting on everything that she's ever said. She's not going to be able to run away from that leading into this film. And not only that, is that going to help the film? I mean, estimated right now, and again, I'm doing a story on this, but it's estimated by the industry that Ezra Miller did somewhere between $60 and $80 million of damage to the Flash because of his limited availability for the red carpet events, for the promotional events, for the press junkets and things like that. Is she better off? Oh yeah, it's very well said. Is she better off moving away from this and sticking with the actors for now, or at least until this thing is resolved? Now, we've heard recently that this thing might be resolved in the next.
It might be resolved. You're right.
Yeah.
Timing. So, maybe they know something. You know what? You just thank you. Maybe they know something. God bless. Well, then Rachel is going to get off again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
it's not going to keep her from being, you know, laid into from the press side of things, because she's going to get asked questions that she's going to answer wrong about things that she said before, even during this strike. The things you were things you were talking about.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, culture and Tom and Andre, is that, boy, we're going to get to see Rachel talk now, because, you know, a lot of that stuff was from last year, right? A lot of those main interviews, her and Gall, that was all last year shit. Then there's a couple of like, you know, internet things where she was like, you know, backlash or whatever, all that stuff. But now it's a different story. And,
I wouldn't get too excited though, because her handlers might have a better handle on her, don't you think?
You know what, man? You can always fire your people, and it's all about your team. I mean, again, I go back to Jenna Ortega, who actually has the same progressive ideals as Rachel, but you wouldn't know it because she talks about the craft. She talks about her acting. She talks about the source. She loves Wednesday. She, you know, and she oh, well, I know the writer, and you know, this and that, and we got to do this, and then as an afterthought, organically in it. Oh yeah, you know, we made her Latin, and we hope you like it. Where this one is the complete opposite. Everything is as far as the interviews, Andre, right? Everything is about activism first.
Yeah, it begins with that.
I mean, second and third. I mean, you know, but you know, if you see in her what she shares about her private life, she's in a 2-year relationship with a gentleman actor from West Side Story. God bless him. And it's like, oh, it looks like a pretty you know, traditional. she praises him. She praises him, and you know, it looked like a pretty traditional relationship there. Like, you know, I hope homeboy can be one of those people. I mean, unless he's a, you know, a tapado, a bozo. You know, it's all about the team. It's all about your team, and you can hire them and fire them. It happens every day.
Yeah, well, we'll see who she has working for her now, and what directions Lionsgate has for the interviews that she will be doing.
Yeah.
Either way, that should be interesting. Should be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Ziegler, she's really a phenomenon in regards to anything that's, you know, any story now. It's just everyone wants to hear about it. Everyone's got an opinion.
She's been phenomenal at wrecking the earnings of films.
What I'm talking about phenomenal for us.
Oh, sorry.
And discussion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think this was Snow White and Hunger Games. These are going to be all on her. I give her a pass on the first 2 flops. You know.
Ooh, yeah, a lot of hubris from Spielberg on the West Side Story thing. So
Yeah, there were so many problems with West Side Story. I mean, I actually, if you take out all the noise, I actually enjoyed Her Maria. I enjoyed a lot of those performances. I just didn't know why that thing was remade.
Yeah, that's the bigger issue here. But we have to move on. Tom, did we have another story involving some brothers?
If you wanted to discuss it, we can. If not, it's not that big of a deal. I know we had some other news too.
Yeah, let's look into it real quick, and then we have another pitch to deliver here.
Well, actually, it was just one brother throwing some shade at Martin Scorsese. Now, this has been a bit of a, point of conversation with everybody ever since Scorsese had said that Marvel movies aren't cinema, and Tarantino backed him up. Well, now Russo brother has thrown some shade at Martin Scorsese. Basically, the short of it is he did a video because Martin did a video with his dog Oscar. So Joe Russo did a video with his dog Box Office.
Nice. That is a powerful comeback right there.
It is, but I also see it as kind of petty. But
Yeah.
like, I don't see one of the Russo brothers involved with MCU right now, do you? And the MCU is not exactly in the best of fucking shape. So this is not the time to be boasting about their box office, especially before what's probably going to be the worst box office performance in Marvel history.
I've said it already. This is the year where both manga and video games will have outgrossed and overtaken comic book movies.
Oh yeah,
both of them in 1 year.
Yeah, and it's and think about that. I mean, we took it as a given that these films are going to make $800 million, $1 billion, more than $1 billion for a couple of years. I mean, that between the heydays of 2018 and 2019, nothing was equal to Disney and specifically Marvel. Marvel and Disney accounted for 1/3 of the box office in 2019. Total revenue, 1/3. That's not insubstantial. So imagine how far they've fallen with a flop after flop after flop. And now that we know for certain that many of these films, when you would have assumed they would have had some kind of profitability, don't anymore. What's left for Disney that's a potential success? Wish, once the word gets out on that, is going to flop. I mean, the next 3 films that are coming into the box office, and 2 of them are Disney, are girl power films. So,
and Doug is kind of getting where I'm coming from here. Look, Russo's ain't done shit since the Avengers, and in hindsight, I remember we cheered them on when we first heard about this. But I'm starting to think it was the worst move for the Marvel universe in the long run. And what I'm referring to is when they were presented with the idea that they were going to recast all the Avengers with younger versions of themselves, and that was going to be the new versions going forward. And the Russos stood in the way of that. At the time, I was like, good for them. But in hindsight, I'm going, fuck, that's what got us to this point we're at right now. If you stop to think about it. So his little throwing shade at Martin is not looking as good in hindsight here as you may think it is. Because not only are they no longer a part of the MCU, I'd argue that they were part of the problem setting us down this road to begin with, because they were so stubborn and wouldn't allow them to bring in other actors to play younger versions of our characters that we loved.
I'm glad you said part of the problem, because I think
there's much more than that.
With even if they had younger actors and everything, they would just have gone crazy making them
You're right.
instead. So it wouldn't really have helped. Like, I don't think there was anything wrong with their approach per se. It was the execution of what came after that went completely off the rails. That's not necessarily their fault per se. If they still were there, maybe things wouldn't have been so bad. But either way, your point still stands. This is a criticism that, or a clapback that would have been much, much better 5 years ago. than it is right now, because now we have half a decade of almost non-stop Marvel failure about to culminate in the Marvels. So yeah, not a great time to be showing up with your dog box office.
Yeah, I mean, if he'd have said fandom or something else, I don't think it'd have been as much of a story, and that's my point. I mean, I just don't think it is big of a flatback as you may think at first.
Yeah. Indeed. All right. Any other thoughts on the Russo brother talking about Martin Scorsese and his attack on comic book movies?
I mean, real quick, they're already attacking Russo, people in the biz. So that's, not surprising. They're already eating their own on that one. They've been doing that a lot.
Indeed. But speaking of our own, someone of our own has a pitch and something they are working with. We do have a number of super chats to go through, and we are going to go through them next. But first, Paulie, there's a link that we have in the description right now for those wanting to check it out. Tell us, what are you working on?
Well, today marks the official day that we are launching our Indiegogo campaign for a novella that I wrote called "They Call Me Charleston," and the campaign's live. Right after we end here, we're gonna go live on my channel, and we're actually gonna be joined by Romy Diaz, and we're going to read portions of the novella to you guys, as well as talk about the campaign. It's a story I started writing in 2019, and then when the lockdowns happened, I kind of put it away, and then I started working with an editor, an award-winning playwright and professional dramaturg, which is basically like an editor. And we went and worked through it. It tells the tale of a healer. It's just a completely new universe I created, but it has a lot of historical and kind of like Mesoamerican and also American historical dates that I play and mess around with, that people who you thought were dead aren't. Going back to our lead character, Charleston, he's a healer. He can heal, and we get very, very descriptive on his powers, and he's our narrator, and he's got to do battle with other family members while protecting a teenage prospect to get to a Mesoamerican fabled land where she can finish her training with another higher level of God. I mean, we got all these levels, and it's really cool. Like, we worked hard on the glossary. We worked hard on the descriptions of the characters. That's a great thing about working with the editor, because they were like, chapter 4 should be chapter 1, where you describe the universe. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited. And someone says he looks like a junkie. That is the whole point. Twofold was I wanted to use this idea of those people that we discard or see invisible in our society, and maybe they're the ones that have a tap on something in our society. They're the ones that are secretly doing wonderful and good things in the world, under kind of right underneath our noses. So also too, he's got to have this persona in order for him to accomplish the good things that he's accomplishing, or else the for lack of a better word, the bad guys will find him and kill him. So he's got to be incognito. So absolutely. We've been working really hard on this. Mexican Ironman, Fletcher, my editor, and then of course the artwork and everything of James Esparza, who did all this AI character art. If you scroll up on the right, you can actually see the different faces of the different characters. And you know, I would love for you guys to go and check this out. There, that's our book cover right there, and that's Lala. And then there's Bobo Freehand. That guy's and that's Bravo. He's the ancient one. He's basically the granddaddy of everybody. And he doesn't want to be bothered with coming to Earth. If he comes to Earth, you know you're in trouble. You know you're in trouble. And he's got a stone arm there. I love that. And yeah, there's several tiers that you can help us out on. And what all this is, guys, it sets up the self-publishing. If you want to order a printed book, it's set up. If you want to order the ebook, if you want to, you know, you're helping us out with all the hardware apparatus that we're dealing with bookbaby.com. So yeah, that's what I got, guys. I don't know if you guys had any questions for me, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think this seems very, very interesting, and I look forward to getting into it. Culture, you have any specific questions?
No, I'm just going to compliment and say I love the artwork and I love the direction it's going. I'm very intrigued. So well done. I'm going to have to check it out.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thanks, and this is the trailer that James Esparza created just for us. And you know, we've been getting it out there.
Nice, very nice. And you also have a stream right after we end where you will talk more about this as well, don't you?
Correct. Well, we're gonna talk about it. We'll thank our current people that are you know that have already done the campaign, have already supported, and we're gonna read from the book. So yeah.
All right. Very, very cool. So yeah, fantastic. Everyone be sure to check that out. Link is in the description. And also this stream will lead straight into Paulie's stream. So just stay tuned for more on that. But meanwhile, we do have more super chats to go through. So Tom, why don't we go straight back to the very top for those?
All right. Let's see here. We've got Chaos Sonic 1 who says Friday Nights at Freddy's is popular thanks to the games and book and Matt Pat. And lore, believe me, the lore and the theories got people to wonder what's going on.
Yeah, cool. I'm not too familiar with that franchise myself, but yeah, I see that the fans
goes on to also say
that's what matters. That's what matters. Then I don't need to love it or even know it. Then it's in good hands and it's been well taken care of, and that's what matters.
And then Scott, he says
Scott
did this movie for the fans and the books. Books is this generation's version of Goosebumps. You read the books, it's darker than Goosebumps. Sounds like it just from the subject matter.
It does sound like it. And then DWD Amateur has been a member for 7 months, and we thank you. Glad to have you here. And then moving on from there, we have also DWD Amateur who says for $5 to Andre, the new Alan Wake 2 game is absolutely amazing, filled with Norwegian culture. Really? If you don't play it, please watch the musical scene. I shall check that out. Thanks for the tip. I'll play it when it's ported to the Mega Drive. But meanwhile, I will look for Alan Wake 2 musical scene. Thank you so much for the tip.
The only thing I've heard about it is it's more like Alan Wait because he's hardly in the movie or in the game. But yeah,
but I was going to play it, so I don't mind. I'll just check the. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
No, I know, but that was what they were talking about last night. But yeah.
Yeah. And Cryam says for $5, to be fair to some critics, you need a bigger conspiracy board for the Five Nights at Freddy's game lore than Planet of the Apes. The game lore is more theory than fact. Quite interesting. I shall keep that in mind. And then we have Brian Keith
Keith.
Hardcastle. Yeah. Want to take it?
Sure, except for Sadie's barking. But last project I seen with Matthew Perry was in the Odd Couple remake in 2015. Watched maybe 3 seasons of Friends before tapping out. Gone way too soon.
Yes, indeed. And we can't have the dog wanting something, so you
She's
take
barking
care
at
of
the
that.
neighbor.
Oh, okay. Oh, well then. And then we had Dr. Longdongler, who sent us a £99 super sticker. Thanks so much for that. And Jason Webster says for $5 Australian, like Jason Voorhees keeps coming back from the dead to terrorize teens. Kathleen Kennedy keeps coming back from the dead to terrorize film franchise. Well, she doesn't have to come back from the dead, though. She never went away, did she?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, indeed. And then we have Victor, who sent us 50. I don't remember who that is from. I guess Slovakian krona. Is that what it is? Could we be any more sad? Rest in peace, Matthew Perry. Friends is still one of the best sitcoms ever. And yeah, it was sad to see him go so soon. Commandant VHS says for $2, I make a land acknowledgement for the Neanderthals. Well, I'm sure they will appreciate that, and we appreciate the support, so thank you, Commandant VHS. Jason Webster says for $5 Australian, let's look at Kathleen Kennedy's recent track record, shall we? Star Wars, dead. Indiana Jones, dead. Willow, dead. Yeah, none of them have so far come back
Disney
dead either.
Yeah. Eclipse Warlord says, you tell him, Andre, keep him on topic. That's right. He tries.
Yeah, I try. It's like herding cats sometimes. But
sometimes it is. Kittens, even so. Jason Webster says, Kathleen Kennedy and her weapons of mass agenda. This is true. DCB Titan says, Jeebus, Gina carpet bombing the truth bombs. I know, like those 2 tweets. I know.
I think I'm going to do a video about them, so stay tuned.
Well, I'm assuming you will have to. I was figuring that at this point, like, especially her second tweet, just to break it down, compare it to things we've heard in the past, compared to what she said at the Daily Wire interview, because it all still lines up. Her story hasn't changed, right? And at first, like I said, I could not believe how salacious some of the things we would hear about Kathleen. Like, they were so bad that I couldn't even believe a human being could be that way. Like, I'm sitting here going, there's no way this 60-some-year-old woman gives that much of a shit about this stuff, considering who she is. But evidently she is that thin-skinned, it sounds like. And this is going to get bigger than I think we all can imagine at this point. Like the way Jay was acting last night, he's like, there's going to be some bombs coming. This is just the beginning. There's more to come. He couldn't say much more than that. So stay tuned, kids. This is going to be a hell of a ride. He said, somebody has the receipts. And there's a lot of them. So remember the dump, the Sony email dump, Andre?
Oh yeah, I was thinking.
I think this is going to eclipse that when it's all said and done.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Just because of how big Star Wars is in comparison to Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, I think that Jay was very as transparent as he could be last night. I am going to go and chop that up into little bits. There was a lot there, and I was amazed. So. It was worth not sleeping very much last night to get that from Jay. So,
yeah, brilliant. So everyone go check out Culture's Casinos channel afterwards for that clip. You will not want to miss.
Well, after Paulie's stream, but
after Paulie's stream.
Yeah,
we gave you most of the highlights as far as like the main topics, but no, it was really great to hear Jay talk about it, kind of more from his perspective, knowing Gina. And to hear him stop when he did sometimes, because it's like, he can't necessarily say something. Sometimes it's obvious just because, it's Gina's place, not his. but clearly that he knows a little bit more than what most of us do about what happened behind the scenes. And frankly, I think this is going to take off. It's going to be a big deal. And there's already some hit pieces on her. Like they're claiming that, what was the one that I saw, like cosmicbook.com was like crazy rantings from Gina Carano about Kathleen Kennedy or something like that. It was like, yeah, no, you guys are not even reading this, are you? It's like,
No,
how
they
can you
are.
condone
Oh,
this
they
shit?
they did. They are Kennedy's acolytes.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's like, exactly who the acolytes are going to be. And pretty much, I mean, I think, well, she already told us two of the biggest ones. The Hollywood Reporter and what was it? Deadline or Variety? Which one? I can't remember. She said.
Well, basically, Penske Media, which owns all of them. Like, there's direct links there. We know this.
Yeah, exactly. And Culture knows the ins and outs of that too as well. Yeah. But moving on, we've got a very generous 19 Norwegian krona in a super sticker form from Stian Monstad. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Stian. Don't know what it is, but it was a while back, so I apologize for that, Stian. But thank you so much for the support. Warblade says, Cray K. Put that chicken. Yeah, well, you know what? I got a thing for this.
Uh-oh.
I like.
Put a chicken, make her gay.
Karari KK.
Yeah. And thank you for the 35 South African rounds, Warblade. That is
Baby dear, put a chicken in, make her gay.
What the hell, dude?
Fuck, baby dear.
Jason Webster says Indiana Jones and the diaper of dysentery was shit, stupefyingly hideous, inane tripe. That sounds like something the angry video game nerd would come up with. Bucky Cat says Disney's fourth quarter earnings meeting is 8th of November. What implications, if any? Now I know we covered a little bit of this, Bucky Cat. So I apologize that we didn't just bring your super chat up at the time. But yeah, I think this is going to be a dicey situation for them. They're going to tread lightly. They're going to try and what do you think, Andre? How do you put this? They're going to try and make things sound better than they actually are. But this is like everything's on fire.
Totally, they're going to try to make things sound better than they are. But there's only so much you can do at this point. So I don't think that this episode is going to have any more. Because if that's what the question is, implications of this South Park episode, I don't think it's going to have anything directly, other than it's going to make it much more difficult for Bob Iger to bullshit about what's going on. Everyone is going to know why, and that's going to help Nelson Peltz. That's the ultimate implication here. Culture, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and I got a question for you too, Culture. Is this one of those earnings calls where the shareholders get to call in or no?
No, that's the next quarter. Yeah, no,
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, no, this is
be so lucky.
Yeah, this would be incredible. No, I think the implications are I think the writing's on the wall already for Iger and his ilk. I think that this one will be elucidatory. I think that it will be revealing, is a less fancy way of saying that. I think you'll be able to assess the path that the Disney company is on and whether or not it has deviated towards the positive with the results of this call. If Iger sidesteps anything that would like look negative to Disney and not actually address it in a way that he can change the perception around it, that's also very telling. And I suspect he will evade a lot of analysts' queries because now that Moffat-Nathanson has gone independent once more, I think you're going to get a rough question or two from them. And I think a lot of the analysts have woken up. You've seen a lot of downgrading and a lot of people speculating that perhaps Disney is maybe not a solid investment at the moment. When Mike was here, he kept illustrating that the every announcement that Iger has made has been met with indifference. That's usually a market indication of investors just not believing you anymore. His credibility is gone, and Iger's not delivered on anything he's said since probably the day he returned. As the CEO, Bounce Back Bob has not really done what he needed to do. And I don't see the stock price rising above 100 until there's been a substantial change in leadership at the Disney company. So what do we expect? We expect a lot of articles written from the perspective of the billionaires that are going to go after Iger's board and his seat. That's what I expect.
So he's going to be playing the offensive.
Oh, he's gonna have to
The
take
defense. I mean, sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
Defense.
I'm right. Yeah, he's going to have to take the difficult questions, and he's going to have to turn them around in a positive way and say, well, we've already addressed this. This is what's being done. These are the results. He's going to have to be able to point to results, which all of his actions haven't created the results that were needed. Even his reduction in workforce has proven to be very short of the measure. His choices were to get rid of the foot soldiers and not necessarily the bloated middle management levels that he has throughout every single part of his company. His vertical integration strategies have not worked. And I would say that his lack of transparency is probably the most off-putting. So, like I said, unless they can say something positive about Hulu, and the fact that they have the deal done, what is he going to say?
That's about the only other thing he could. Yeah, no, you're right.
Because I mean, the movies, he can't even point at a successful movie.
No, they haven't had one this year. Even though they just listed the top, the studios that have tech quote unquote earned the most money this year or made the most money at the box office this year. Disney is at the top, but I question whether they actually made any money. Well, Universal and Warner are coming up right behind, and I know they did, or at least Warner Brothers probably broke close to even. Universal, there's no way they didn't make money this year, even with the Exorcist snafu, because that was on the books. What, 2 years ago they spent that money?
Yeah, let's talk about this real quick. Anybody who looks at that list of studios that makes made the most money so far, that's superficial information. It lacks the context of everything that was produced the material. And so the people with the very smooth brains are going to have a smooth brain take on it. And here you go. Disney is 1.69 billion. Universal has 1.6 billion. Warner Brothers has 1.1 billion. Warner Brothers, point to me outside of Barbie a successful film for the year.
Oh, Warner Brothers had a few hits. They had Evil Dead. They had a couple other movies that did okay. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't argue that they're necessarily in the black, but they're definitely not in the red as deep as Disney is my point. Like, they're kind of hovering right at the surface level. Barbie really saved their ass this year.
It did, yeah.
The Flash killed them, but a lot of that money's from years ago. That's the point I was getting at too. Yeah.
Well, and what's the problem is that if Disney's average per film was 122 million, well, take that average, divide it out over all the movie budgets, multiply it times 3, and find out if they actually take those movie budgets, multiply them times 3, and find out if they actually made any, because they didn't.
And we need to move on from here. But yeah, the point is well said. Like, just between movies like Fast X, Megan, Mario Brothers alone, Universal clearly is probably in the black this year. Then aren't they also involved with Friday Nights at Freddy's? That's a big, huge hit for them as well.
Universal, which Universal wrote a check for that so they could do the day and date release.
Meg was not successful in the US, but it did gangbusters overseas.
It did good overseas. The Trench, the Meg 2. It did good overseas, but I don't know necessarily that it made money. I
don't know how well it did as far as money wise, but
it's these films are too expensive.
Yes, they are. Johnny Menix says Canadian Living in Europe, Sound of Freedom was released here in the Netherlands. Great film. Thanks for the recommendation. Watch on YouTube. Vader versus Batman. Really good. I have not seen Vader versus Batman, but yes, Sound of Freedom. It got moved to the 14th, so it's coming out the 14th on video here. It should be on video on demand around the same time. I don't know who's going to be picking it up for streaming yet. We still haven't heard. But yes, it's still rolling its way throughout the world, still on release. So so now it's basically coming to the Netherlands, Andre. So there you go.
Yeah, it's being released certainly in most of Europe by now and right
Yeah.
around this time. So yeah, I'm glad to see more and more people see that movie, which is one of the best and most important movies you can see this year.
Yeah, one
And it's
of,
doing
one of
very
my
well.
one of my top films of the year, and its international release has been, slow, guys, but they've been doing so successful, and country after country. So look out for it.
Yeah,
Incredible
that's
film.
why it's getting. That's why it took so much time. Originally, it didn't have an international release in the first place. That only happened after it was such a surprise smash hit in the States, and that's when suddenly international buyers started showing interest. That's when they first we had already done our videos. We would have been around like in September when the deals were signed, and then it's a matter of fitting it into the release schedule the first opportunity we have. Like usually releases are planned years in advance. This is something they had to slot in. So
This
yeah,
movie almost was like a classic film back in the day, because back when only Disney and Warner Brothers really had any international distribution back then. A lot of the other companies had to go through other distributors, and that's kind of what this reminded me of, is having to go through all these different distributors to get the movie distributed. And that's where people used to say all the time, well, why don't they just release movies on the same day all the time? Well, they do now because they've uniformed it all and they've done it that way. But not even 20 years ago that wasn't the case. Like Andre, you'd have to wait sometimes a couple months for a movie to come out, and very rarely, once in a while, you'd even get a movie earlier than we would sometimes, just because it all had to do with the release calendar, when they could slot it in, when they could find a distributor, if they have a distributor there. Sometimes they would go straight to video in some cases.
Star example was Dune, which I saw weeks before anyone else did, because by some fluke it opened in Norway, and just Norway, weeks before the rest of the world.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a lot of the movies that Disney distributed outside the US weren't even theirs. They were theirs, but they were like, for instance, like back in the day, Popeye was a co-distribution. Disney released it overseas. In the US, Paramount did it. And they did that with another film too. I'm trying to remember which one it was.
But moving on.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, you were going to say something, Paulie?
No, go see Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom is great.
Yeah.
Jason Webster says it's official. Expendables at the box is the biggest box office bomb of 2023 amongst blockbuster releases, having only earned a paltry it only did 50.6 million worldwide. Wow,
that's sad. I mean, it deserved better than that.
Yes and no. I mean, that's what happens when you piss off your main actor and write them out of the movie. Jesus Davila says, can I get a happy birthday shout out from the panel? And seriously, I thank everyone who has been on this channel for what you do, informing the audience while also entertaining the audience. Well, I think I can do my part anyway.
Yeah, and Jesus, thank you for the $10 and happy birthday. We're so glad to have you here, part of the community.
Hello, Jesus Davila. I don't know how to do happy birthday in Spanish. Okay. I printed it out, but I'm not really sure how to read these words. It's something like Cumpleaños Feliz. Club blah 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 blah. Is that a word? Looks kind of like come please nos todos. Is that like chips? I give up. Happy birthday, kid.
Yes, indeed. So again, feliz cumpleaños. Yes, that was right. Right?
Feliz cumpleaños, Jesus.
Now that Pat Thomas got you guys all messed up.
I was wondering if I said Happy New Year.
It's not just me.
Feliz Año Nuevo is Happy New Year.
Thank you. I was like thinking, wait, did I just screw that up live? But yeah, no, I got it.
Yeah.
I should not have hedged. But anyway, Jesus, thanks for being here, and thanks for the support.
Happy birthday, Jesus. Happy birthday. Then we got Eclipse Warlord, who says Iger's aging at presidential rate. Yes, he's not looking too good right now. That's very true. Super Chair Destroyer says, love your guys' work. Keep it up. Hail to you all. Well, we plan on it. Hypergiver 2 says, sorry, Paulie, I don't support AI art. But Mr. Ticketron does point out that this is a novel, so the art doesn't really matter. You're just doing this just to help sell your idea, right? Because it's not a comic book or a graphic novel. It's just a novel.
Yeah,
Right.
and the artist is going to be with me, and so we can talk about that. But there's the art, the cover that he did, the book cover, and then there's like 5 images within the 32 pages. Yeah, it's this, and every written word is from me. I had no AI chat help me out. It was all here and right to pen and paper.
Well,
So yeah.
maybe there's something you can add to. I don't know if you can add or change anything to it. Maybe if you can add a little bit more to it, find out how much an artist would cost for you to do those, and add that to the thing. If you reach that goal, maybe then you can actually have original art done.
He's part of that. James Esparza.
Oh,
He's
okay.
part,
So
he's like he did this work for the project, and even that costs money. I mean, so but yeah, we're gonna get. He's the first guy I'm gonna interview before we do our reading within minutes. So come on by.
well, I just understand the idea of not liking AI work being
Sure,
done. That's
sure. I
understandable.
mean,
Daryl
absolutely.
Brewer has been a member for 26 months. Thank you for that, Daryl. We appreciate the support. Pirate Queen says, going to see Godzilla 2000. It's okay. So you're not seeing the new one yet.
There we go.
That makes
Yeah,
more
okay.
sense.
Big
Yes.
difference.
Okay. Yes. I remember somebody else saying something about this. AMC is doing it. I'll just see if I can even go to see that. But
Well,
I'm
cool.
definitely planning to see -1. That's the one I thought you meant. EVA Unit says 41 million lifelong TLM fan.
The Little Mermaid.
Yeah. I continued
I
to defend the
continue to
2023
defend.
movie, except for the
Yeah,
stunt
exactly.
casting of 7 Daughters. It was great adaptation. With respect, we accept Midnight's Edge. Well, hey, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, so am I. I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. I know that many others did enjoy it as well. So as long as you had a great experience with it, that's all that should matter, regardless of what others may have had. Worked for you? Perfect.
And we're caught up.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, with that, I want to say thanks to all the panelists who joined us today. Thanks to Chris Gore. Thanks to Cultured Casino. Thanks to Mr. Paul Chato and his alter ego Paula, who also graced us with they them's presence, and of course thanks to Mike, the Mexican Ironman, for coming and helping us out with the Nelson Peltz news. And thank you, Paulie. And again, everyone check out the They Call Me Charleston novella. Link for that is in the description. Head on over to your stream instantly afterwards.
Yeah, thank you. And also let's get that Rachel Ziegler clipped. That was
Hey,
a lot
well,
of
you already
fun.
got a couple of donations coming in. Come on in, guys, and
We did.
help out. Yep. So there you
We
go.
got a couple from the audience right now, so we're really looking good. Yeah, we didn't say what our goal is, but it's $3,500 in the next couple of weeks. We're already well on our way, and want to thank the Midnighters and Andre and Tom for giving us this time. This is I know prime time for you guys on the Monday, so muchísimas gracias. Thanks everybody. Come on by
All right.
for for more and we're gonna go live, and me and Romy are gonna read selections from the book.
Cool beans. So thank you for being here, man. We appreciate you being here and telling us about your book, and also chiming in on all the news stuff today. Check out the Latino Slant. As we said, he'll be going live here right after the show. Culture, what you got going on? Anything to plug?
Just today's video, which kind of talks about the potential flop of the Marvels in comparison to the amazing success of FNAF. So that one will be fun. Going to try to work up the clips and get that out from last night's stream. The last hour was fire, and let's see, we've got another video coming tomorrow about how Disney killed the networks. Let's do that one. That'll be fun.
All right. And of course, we want to thank Chris as well for being here today, and Paul Chato, and the mods for all your help, and Six in the background. Thank you again. And Andre, anything else to look forward to besides Toxic Femme, which I think Paulie's also going to pop in there tonight as well?
Yeah, there's Toxic Femme. Plus, I'm working on a follow-up video to the Gina Carano situation. That should be a real hoot. We are still working on the that book that exposes the background of the MCU. It's a paid-for puff piece. and we are going to be exposing that. Those videos are coming later this week, but first we have to follow up on the far more breaking news, which is the Gina Carano situation. So do stay tuned for that. That will be dropping best guess tomorrow, I imagine.
All righty then. So hopefully we'll see you guys later on Toxic Femme. And head on over to Paulie's stream. Take care of yourselves. Oh, and don't forget, check out Flip City Magazine, where if you punch in the code MIDNIGHT, you save 10%. That's right. Use the code MIDNIGHT today. Save 10% on your subscription to Flip City, a real actual magazine. And it's fun. All right. With that, Andre, it is time for
some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given. Koalas in the rain.